All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Angels series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you who are watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all of that great stuff. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored. We're just going to start you throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly post-game. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 154 of our show. And the Mets are coming off of a sweep of the Angels. And obviously, we are getting very, very close to that important day on July 31st when the final moves are made. The final big roster moves are made, obviously, at the trade deadline, and we'll obviously get into that later. But the Mets have put themselves in a little bit better of a spot record-wise. There's still plenty of stuff to break down. Frank, you are here. You weren't here for last episode. I was here with Andrew, so I guess we're swip-swapping you guys out of here. But either way, Mets get back into first place after last night with the Phillies losing, but still plenty of work to do, plenty of things to deal out.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very eventful series, even though it was only the three games. I mean, the Angels, with how much they were booting the ball, the horrible bullpen that they have, the Mets were able to take advantage of it, luckily, and sweep the series. But like we've said overall, there's different ways to sweep a series. Like you could do it in dominant fashion. You're cashing in on golden opportunities where another team messes up. But then you have instances like this where you're just kind of squeaking by. I mean, they had to make the comeback in game one. They barely hold on in game two. And then even yesterday, I mean, Mendoza had to be very aggressive with how he used Edwin Diaz because they have the off day today. So it's just like it was no easy wins in here. Like it just felt like you had to fight for everything against not the greatest competition, which is not what you want to see. There was positive signs, particularly from the starting rotation, seeing them get healthy and kind of stringing out together. For the most part, good start after good start. Senga, not his best start, but we know he's capable of better. But I think more so just seeing a healthy Montas, what he could provide for seeing a healthy Manaya, what he could provide. Those are encouraging signs. The offense, though, is still yet to just take off. Like you still have some guys here who are like slumping or not where they're supposed to be quite yet. And like you said, as we near the deadline and the starters are healthy, it's becoming more evident that they need bats. That is what they need to focus on the most. You have Brooks Raley back in the bullpen. That helps. Just having quality stars helps your bullpen automatically. They could use another reliever or two, but they need to upgrade the bats. We've talked about the countless times they leave men on base and just the winnable games that they lose because of those missed opportunities. When you're going to be fighting with the Phillies, you take the lead in the division, they take the lead back and forth the rest of the season. You can't have these like winnable games that you keep losing. So these gold opportunities that are stranded, you've got to cash in. So for me, I think they need some at least a couple more power bats to just kind of fully keep them in first place or close to it because even the wild card that's not a cakewalk either. So to me it's like there's still more work that can be done going into the deadline.
It has really felt like all season they just have not had a single game or a single stretch where they're firing at all cylinders, and it seems like they are capable of doing that. We're not asking them to be perfect, but again, it we still are have yet to see from expectation from this team and whether they are 15 games over 500. It's really hard to just sit here and be happy about everything that we were seeing because it has been quite a journey to finish 9 innings every single night, to go into every single night thinking that, oh well, are we going to win this game, are we going to actually pull this thing out? It still is not a fluent way they're playing baseball. They have had plenty of opportunities of departments carrying a lot of weight, but it's been not the easiest journey. And I don't know how the deadline is going to possibly solve things like this, to be honest. I feel like we're just kind of in a point where there's going to be some moves that are made, and I don't know if it's going to be decisions that are good enough. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now going forward. We'll see what they do. We know that they're going to be opportunistic on that open market, but I'm not really expecting a big splash. I'm not expecting a big bat. I'm not really expecting a big pitcher or anything. I'm expecting them to load up the bullpen, and maybe there is someone who does get moved on this roster, one of the young guys, which I don't know. I've definitely tampered the expectations from what I was expecting, and I don't know how to feel about it. I've already said I'm going to be definitely disappointed because of when you sign Juan Soto to all that money, you expect them to go all in, but it looks like they're going to fill in what they need. And I don't know how aggressive they are going to be, which is a little scary considering the fact. But there's nothing that we can do as to the point of what they need to obviously add. I'm okay with them wanting to give the leeway to the young guys this year. And I don't know if it's the recency bias of the recent type of production they have been giving you. And we'll get into one of the young guys as well, who has been really good recently. But I don't like the fact of relying on the young guys to keep this consistency, because we haven't seen the consistency. Because I'm pretty sure like 3 weeks ago we were talking about, all these young guys are terrible. Like I feel like this continues to change, and I feel like we're going to get into that discussion in 3 weeks again when everything just completely dies out. I would like to pursue a bat. I don't know if they're going to end up doing it. I think that they are going to end up searching at one certain position that we will get into. But I don't think that all the problems or a majority of the problems can be solved with a deadline. I don't think it's possible. I don't think they will. And it's pretty much just waiting things out and hoping that things catch fire, because there's things at the top of the lineup. There's 4 guys at the top of the lineup that need to get going. And whether it's that you make an addition or not, or what you need for this team or not, that Fab 4 has got to get it into gear, because we have seen way too many times where they just completely disappear. And you're leaning on them a lot, but they need them to perform, because I don't know how long these young guys are going to keep this up. Who knows? They need to step it up, and hopefully they're saving the best for last, because this year they have played over 100 games now. I'm still seeing a very underwhelming team. And I'm saying that with 15 games over 500, they just don't seem to have any dominant aspect to them. That's basically how I look at it. It basically looks like either it's above average or non-existent at all. Like that's kind of how I feel about all departments on this team. There's nothing that's overwhelmingly great about them, which sure, that can form good departments can form a great team, but there's not really much I'm hanging my hat as of right now on with this, this 2-man race with the Phillies in the division. I don't know. And like you said, wild card isn't a cakewalk either.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they're still benefiting from the really hot start that they got off to, because going into
They
this
are.
Angels series, I'm pretty sure it was like the last 30 games, they were the second worst team in baseball. The only team that's worse than them is a team all the way on the bottom you see on the screen, the Nationals, who are 20 games under 500. We're like the only team playing worse than the Mets going into this Angels series. So, I mean, we can't let this one sweep be like, oh, everything is okay now. We're back on track. Like, Not yet. I mean, this is going to be a really good test coming up because we have offense concerns, yet you're facing a very good pitching team in the Giants. You're going to be seeing Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. So that's going to be a good challenge for this offense, especially with that top four struggling. So we're get a better idea. I mean, it's perfect timing that you get to face these playoff caliber pitching going into the deadline because then you really kind of says like, all right, well, what are we doing with this offense? Because to your point with the young players, this carousel of like, is it Baty? Is it Vientos? Is it Mauricio? I mean, Baty's had a hot stretch, but for no one to really just fully take grasp of a spot in the order that's like you can't move them off of it has definitely been a big issue. I mean, no doubt about it. You got Alvarez back. We'll see if he builds off of it, but there's is a lot of question marks. But I have a question for you. Do you know who the guy on the team with the highest batting average is? It's not someone we would have predicted going into the season.
Is it Alonzo right now?
No,
Or is it uh Beatty right now? Is it
nope,
Beatty? Would it be well, it can't be McNeil.
no,
I have is it Nimmo?
no. It's not.
No.
It's not a fat. It's not a Fab Four
Soto?
guy. Nope.
No. Oh, Marte.
Yes, it is Starling
Yeah.
Marte, which we would not
Yeah.
predicted, but
Which is why batting average doesn't matter, but keep going.
bangers doesn't matter. But still, the results that are happening, like some way somehow he's getting on base, which shouldn't be a big thing, but for a lot of these guys,
Yeah.
it actually is. And your leader should not be hitting a 275. Like there needs to be somebody with this kind of payroll that should be hitting higher than that. So when we talk about the deadline, as far as like adding a bat, it would be the DH position we would think, but it's like why would you take out your highest batting average guy in a way too? So it's very weird. Like you said, there's a lot of external factors here, like the amount of bats that are available. There's not all that many, and like the one
No.
big one everybody wants. So, like we talk about whether who's available and what you could move that's already on your team. It's mostly like you said, the underwhelming aspect of it. It's like if guys just did what they were supposed to, what they've done in the past, what they're paid to do, you wouldn't really need to make any big changes to the offense because guys are just doing what they always do. But because of the underwhelming and these guys not performance expectations, is why there is that bigger need for a bat.
Yeah, I don't know what the demand is going to end up being because of how few bats there are going to be available. I think it's going to be a little bit more marginal in some more departments offensively, which how it is going to be addressed at the trade deadline. We'll get into that eventually. Obviously, with what's happening on the field, like we said with the young guys, I feel like I'm reading a different story every day, obviously, because everybody with the young guys gets very, very excited of, oh, well, this guy came through today. This guy came through today. It's like, well, let's can we figure something out here and not just have everybody going in and out here? It seems like David Stearns is okay with this revolving door as of right now at third base, which is the main reason as to why I don't think that they're going to go after a guy like Eugenio Suarez at all. But the thing is that the most consistent part of this team needs to be that top four. And we've seen them go in and out and not stepping up when it is, needed. Obviously, we've talked about it with runners in scoring position when they come up with a lot of these different opportunities. Most of the time, they're not coming through, and it continues to be an issue. And again, they're going to have to get better. We know Lindor has been off to he's been terrible recently. At least he got a break out of it on the final game. Alonso has slowed down a little bit. Soto's been in and out. Nimmo's been the most consistent, I would say. But
Soto
he's
is
had his
still
bad
hitting.
stretches too.
Yeah, but Soto's still hitting 186 with runners in scoring position.
Hmm.
Like it's stuff like that. It's like the overall season, the numbers look good, but when you're hitting 186, still, like you said, over 100 games in with men on
Yeah.
base from the number three spot in the order, like that's just you're getting paid 800 million. Yikes! That's just
It's
not what
like
you want to see.
we're putting roaches we're putting blankets over roaches here. Like you have a blanket, it's nice warm one. You lift it up, you got plenty of under the hood here. We've got some issues. And I'm not going to sit here and say that a sweep of the Angels is what is going to keep me It's not going to keep me up at night. And, look, this is the thing. I don't know what they have to address here. I don't know what they're going to end up doing. We all know that every single team, there's no dominant team, as Turo was saying here in the chat. I feel like that's obvious. Like every team has its issues. But I just didn't expect this team to be as underwhelming with the expectation that was set to it. And obviously from an offense that is the most expensive department on the team, I just feel like we're grasping for straws every single time. I'm like, who showed up today? Who actually showed up in this series? And, I don't want to sit here and constantly talk about, the key players not coming through when that is what they are paid to do. Pretty much everybody, Nimmo, Soto, and Alonso are paid for their bat. Lindor's paid for other different things. He's got so many different tools and he can give you from all aspects, but we're also paying Lindor a lot to hit too. That's what they're getting paid for. So that's the best value they can give to this team. And it's really, really hard when you have three guys just completely disappearing for one stretch and then one of them doing something and one of them heavy lifting and getting solo home runs. There's only so much you can do there. And, an offense like this, with this much talent, with this top four that we know is capable of a lot more, they should not be middle of the pack or close to the end of the pack in scoring runs. It shouldn't happen. It really should not end up happening. And I know that everybody talks about it as well. They're taking these quality ABs. Well, guess what? Quality ABs should be turning into quantity of runs eventually because it's not happening. We are 100 games in. So when is it going to happen? Because I just don't know how many times we can say this where this is just what this team is. And I don't want this team to be just what this team is when it's a $350 million payroll that struggles to score runs consistently. Ricardo said, I've said it, this team is very boring. At times, yes. At times, they are boring. They are very boring. I don't know what they have to add in. I mean, they're 4-0 since Pablo Sanchez visited the field. I was actually at that game, so they're 4-0 since I visited Citi Field. So I guess that's what.
And 3-0 since I went. So
3-0 since you went. So again, it's just I don't know. I feel like we're just missing something. We're missing there's like a gap that needs to be filled with this team, and for some reason we're just not getting that same feel. I feel like we're just not getting that same feel of not just a championship team, of a contending team. It just always seems like every single game is a fight to the end. And yes, you're going to have tough games, but against teams that you're better than that. Then the Angels have a decent lineup. They've had some decent pitching performances, but their bullpen is terrible and their defense is terrible. Take advantage. They had plenty of those opportunities where they were giving you free bases. They didn't come through.
Yeah, I mean, even the Reds series, the Reds are not an amazing team either. And I mean, look how much they struggled there too. I mean, that was a joke. I wasn't here for the series, but man, I had a lot of just very aggravated thoughts with the managing, the performance, the runners left on base. I mean, all of it was just all not pretty just a few days ago. So that definitely is something that, like you said, still is a concern. We have not seen any consistency with the men on base at all. Even I talked about the recap yesterday, but we talked about the 0-100 aspect. They score 6 runs within the first 4 innings and then no runs for the rest of the game. Like the way they could just, as a collective group, fall asleep together and just never not wake up for the rest of the day is also an issue because they, once again, had opportunities. Nothing.
Yeah, I hate the fact that I'm looking at a $350 million payroll with this team every single day. And listen, I'm not paying it. It's not my money. But again, time and money is always invested by fans into their team. The fact that I have to look at a $350 million team and say, well, is the most expensive part of the team going to show up today? That's an issue. It is. And I've said this since game 1. And I will continue to say it. And everybody can quote me on this. if the Mets end up getting eliminated at all, if they make the postseason, which is likely, if they end up eliminated, it will be the offense that tears them down. That is what is going to happen. It's not going to be the pitching or the lack of talent or this team's just better than us. The offense is going to make their own bed if changes are not made. And we haven't seen changes for over 100 games now. So I just, at this point, this is just what it is. At this point, just waiting for someone to bail them out and waiting for somebody to wake up. Because we know the ability is there. We know it is. And that's the frustrating part about it. I think that's the main reason as to why we should not have premium run totals on an offense that has that type of production. Like you just said, not even in the Fab Four, Starling Marte, the best batting average on the team, he is still producing. Not the best, but he's still producing. Not at a DH level that you want for $20 million, but still producing. Then you have Brett Baty, who's been good recently. We'll talk about him later. You also have Francisco Alvarez. In this series, he looked to be back to his old self. I don't know how long that is going to end up sticking. And then you have the rest of the lineup, which it's whatever. Mauricio, in and out, Acuna. I don't even know how you want to put it in there. But you have these guys individually producing. Taylor. You have these guys individually producing, a decent amount of these guys individually producing. And I understand when David Stearns said, the deepness of this lineup is there because they are all producing individually. But gelling together as a team, all year, this has not been a thing.
Well, I mean, what's frustrating too is that let's say it's a game where Tyrone Taylor is starting, as the game is going on, you hear Gary be like, "Oh, well, Lindor is 0 for his last 28, and Pete is 2 for 32, and Taylor's like 3 for 36." Like you just hear these ridiculous slumps just going down the line that it's like, especially with Taylor, it's like, dude, is he ever going to wake up? I mean, he's got the worst OPS plus on the team. The worst. I mean, that's saying something. So it's just like some of these guys, I
don't expect him to hit it all. So again, like I've said, the problem is that you can't bat him ninth in this lineup because of how bad other guys or how inconsistent other guys have been. And that's the main reason as to why they're going to have to address the center field market. And it sucks because I think Taylor's a decent fourth outfielder, but it's nothing more than that. Yeah,
it looks like they're leaning more towards the idea of start McNeil in center and then put Taylor in later, and you put like Baty at second and Ronnie at third, and you figure out from there. So that's again where like the fit thing kind of comes into question because it's like, well then, with Vientos, like you said, with the young players, they can't wait any longer here. Like they're all in right now. They're not a rebuilding team that needs to have the young guys play. The young guys do not have to play. They just need to win games. So if that means Vientos has to go to the bench and you actually bring in a true DH or Marte has to stay DH or whatever, then so be it. Like you have to put out the guys that give you the best chance of winning. And right now, a lot of these young guys are not the best chance because they have continued to struggle constantly.
Yeah, I think there's been a lack. I think the lack of results is what continues to keep it as a huge impatience with these young guys. And it's more just to become up with the expectation of what we know that they're possibly capable of what they were scouted to be. And it's just not doing it for me. Like it just is not doing it to where I'm like, okay, these are future pieces to the team. I don't like the fact of it's like, well, we have this top four in this lineup, maybe a veteran DH in there, and then the rest of the lineup will just be prospects. Like that's it. Like that's just not, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And whether we talk about guys individually, the way that it gels together, especially when you're talking about a position at third base where three of these young guys are likely to get playing time at, it's just it's a logjam of where these guys aren't going to consistently produce if they're just going to continue to reverse things in and out. I still think somebody from that position player group has to go of the young guys, whether it's Baty, Mauricio, Vientos, or Acuna. One of them has to go.
Acuna's out. Acuna, I don't even consider him in the conversation. Like he's gone. I mean, he's just a
Well,
runner
he's
to
still on
me.
the roster. So again,
He's
that's
on
the
the
thing.
again, but he's on the roster because they have no AAA depth, and because Jesse Winker's hurt and Jose Siri's hurt. If either one of those guys are healthy,
Yeah.
Acuna goodbye. But the other three, I don't know. I feel like because of minor league options, it's not Vientos. If anything, it's Ronnie. He's the one that the reason why they're having a really big issue too is because Beatty's left-handed struggles against left-handers, but Mauricio is struggling so much against left-handers too. So they can't even do like a platoon thing or whatever. It's just like they have too many guys. Like to me, Mauricio and Vientos are too similar. Like that's where they really got to make the decision. I think because of minor league options, Mauricio's gonna be the one that goes down, but those two are just too similar. You can't have both there. I mean, they both don't provide speed. But one's not hitting against left-handers. Defensively, Mauricio's a little better, but he still doesn't
Yeah.
wow me for third base, especially with the guy we just put in the Mets Hall of Fame over the weekend. Like that's what a real third baseman looks like. So they are far from that right now.
Yeah. Mauricio, I mean, I know there's things that he can provide. I'm gonna wait out the speed a little bit because again, we know he's coming back from the torn ACL. We even saw what's his name, not even like, Ronald Acuna, like he wasn't really running the bases as much coming from back from the ACL tear. So I know that the plus speed is there with Ronnie Mauricio, and I know that he can provide those tools. I'm waiting it out. I'm trying to be very patient with him because of the obvious there, and I think that the Mets are trying to be very patient as well because of the in and out of how they're putting him into the lineup. But I'm not impressed of, well, we got all these young guys. All right, well, what are they going to do on a consistent basis? Because it seems like they're just as inconsistent as this top four has been all year. So I don't know how I just don't know how it all glues together, and it's really confusing me. Maybe it all comes down to a point where the final stretch of the season they all start to play well, but I don't know. I don't know where a lot of these things fit in. And this offense will continue to be an issue. I know exactly the first move that I am making with this offense. We all know what the first move is, and it has absolutely nothing to do with anybody in the lineup. So, again, they're going to have to make some kind of a decision. I do think that this offense could be a lot better. We believe that it's going to be a lot better, so it needs to be. I mean, it does. It really does need to be a lot better. And and this is the thing. And Ricardo saying Mauricio hasn't been that impressive. Neither has anybody else. That's the thing with me. Like I have not seen anything impressive from any of these young guys where I'm like, oh, this is a future piece right here. The best has been Brett Baty, who still hasn't been amazing.
Yeah,
Like
it's
he
taken
still has had stretches that have been
stretch.
bad.
Yeah, it's taken
Yeah.
a ridiculous hot stretch to get barely above league average offensively.
Yeah.
Like a ridiculously hot stretch to
And
get
that's just a
barely
fact.
above
That's
league
not us
average.
hating on him. That's just
And
a
you still
fact.
can't hit
That's what's happening.
lefties. And that's something this whole team is struggling with too. So,
Yeah.
what are they going to
Lots
do
of
about
holes. Lots of holes on the team. I don't know. There are some things that I feel like can give us more flexibility, but they're just not option. They're just not options as of right now. And I guess they'll figure it out in the next off season. I don't know, where we try this again. I don't know. We run it back, boys. Anyways, let's get into this series with the Angels. What actually happened on the field, and then we can break down everything that went on. Let's run down this one at Citi Field, 3-game series with the Angels. The Mets end up getting the sweep. So you had game one. Kodai Senga would make the start, and he was very un-Senga-like for the first time in a long time. He struggled with control and command of the zone all night. He only tossed just 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts on 73 pitches, putting the Mets down 4-0 early, but the offense would pick up their ace in the 4th. After a 1-out walk to Jeff McNeil, Brett Baty would cut the lead in half with a 2-run homer, his 11th of the year. Kevin Herget would come on for the 4th and pitch multiple innings in long relief, retiring 7 of the 9 batters he faced. And after a 1-out single in the 6th, Chris Davinsky would come on and finish the inning with a strikeout and a ground ball. However, Davinsky would come back out for the 7th and struggle after a leadoff single was erased from a caught stealing. Davinsky would issue a walk and a hit by pitch, followed by an RBI single by Taylor Ward to give the Angels a 3-run lead. Huskar Brazaban would get the final 2 outs of the inning thanks to a heads-up fielder's choice play by Brett Baty for a 5-2 putout and a strikeout to end the inning. Down 5-2 in the seventh, the Mets would rally after a leadoff walk to Francisco Alvarez and a single from Luis Angel Acuna. Brandon Nimmo would get hit by the pitch to load the bases, and Francisco Lindor would drive in a run with an RBI force out, beating out a play at first base to make it 5-3 Angels. Lindor would steal second base to make it second and third with one out for Juan Soto, who would clutch up to tie the game at 5 with a 2-run single. Brooks Raley would get the eighth and toss a scoreless inning in his second appearance back from Tommy John surgery, and the Mets would finish off the comeback right after a one-out walk to Brett Baty, a double from Francisco Alvarez to make it second and third, and Ronnie Mauricio would give the Mets the lead on a fielder's choice. Yohan Moncada's throw home would skip by Logan O'Hoppe to score Baty, and Brandon Nimmo would add on some insurance with a sacrifice fly to put the Mets ahead by 2 runs. Edwin Diaz would come out for the ninth and dominate, striking out the side on 14 pitches to secure the Mets' Game 1 comeback victory, 7-5. Game 2, Frankie Montas would make his 5th start as a Met and surrender a lot of loud contact, but he was able to keep them in the game. After getting 2 outs in the 6th, he'd be pulled for Rico Garcia following a single to Logan O'Hoppe. Garcia would strand the base runner to close the book on Montas. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts on 91 pitches. Down 2-0 in the 5th, the youth would get the job, would do the job once again. A 2-out double by Brett Baty following a game-tying 2-run homer from Francisco Alvarez, his 4th of the year. Ronnie Mauricio would follow with a single and a stolen, and he would steal second base to set up Brandon Nimmo for an RBI single to give the Mets the lead. Rico Garcia would come back out for the 7th and get 2 outs via the strikeout and hand it to Reed Garrett, who would finish the inning after a wild pitch. Garrett would come back out for the 8th and toss a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. And with Edwin Diaz unavailable, the Mets would go to Ryan Stanek in the 9th, and it would get a bit rocky with 2 hits allowed, but he would finish it off getting Mike Trout to pop out, securing the Game 2 victory, 3-2. Game 3, Sean Manaea would make his 2nd start back from injury in this series and turn on a solid outing, with the only blemish on his line being a solo home run to Mike Trout in the 3rd inning. He'd end his day with 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts on 82 pitches. The Mets would take an early lead in the 1st inning thanks to a leadoff home run by Brandon Nimmo, his 19th of the year, and tied 1-1 in the 3rd. The Mets would start to break away after a walk to Tyrone Taylor and Brandon Nimmo getting hit by the pitch. Francisco Lindor would give the Mets the lead on an RBI single, snapping an 0-for-31 stretch, and Pete Alonso would launch a moonshot to the second deck, his 22nd home run of the year, a 3-run shot to give the Mets a 5-1 lead. In the next inning, after Mark Vientos' leadoff double was erased on a fielder's choice to third base, Brandon Nimmo would follow it up with a single to make it 1st and 3rd. And Francisco Lindor would add on to the lead with a RBI single, his 2nd of the day, to make it 6-1 Mets. Huskar Brazaban would get the 6th and work around a 2-out walk to toss a scoreless inning with a strikeout. Jose Butto would make his return from the injured list in the 7th and struggle, allowing back-to-back singles, a wild pitch, and a 2-run double to Chris Taylor, cutting the Mets' lead to just 3. The Mets would pull Butto with 2 outs for Brooks Raley, who'd work around a walk of his own to finish the inning. Raley would come back out for the 8th and get the first 2 outs via the strikeout and flyout, and the Mets would go to Edwin Diaz for a 4-out save, and aside from hitting 2 of the 6 batters he faced, Diaz would notch his 21st save of the year in the 9th, and with 2 strikeouts to complete the Mets' 3-game sweep of the Angels, 6-3. The Mets are now 59-44 on the season. With the Phillies losing to Boston last night, they jump right back into first place in the NL East, with the MLB trade deadline just a week away. So there is your full rundown of that series. Plenty of takeaways. Like we said, there was a sweep, but it definitely wasn't a fluent sweep. There was definitely some bumps in the road to getting that broom over the floor there, if you need some kind of analogy. Frank, I will go to you with your main takeaways. Good and bad. There was plenty that went on in these three games.
Yeah, I mean, the first two started bad, ended good because I'll tell you what, I mean, going to game one, I remember, I mean, clear as day, but it was 5-1, runners on the corners. You have pitchers coming out, pitchers going in. I'm just looking at my girlfriend. I'm like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't feel good right now. I was like, this just doesn't feel like a game they're gonna win. We have multiple runners on, only one out. You're right down 5-1. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Especially like in the beginning, I said Soto hit the ball 106 off the bat. Doesn't even reach. I don't even know. I mean, Carson, you're the math guy. You got me out here. 106 off the bat, 33-degree launch angle, doesn't go to the warning track. What? Like, is that
Um,
physically possible? I mean, that was
City
just so
Field
confusing
is
to me.
City Field is a disgusting pit of fire. That's why.
Because I watched it, because from my
Yeah.
seat, like I saw the ball leave his bat and like it was just destroyed. I mean, it took off so quick. And I was like, wait a minute, what? He caught
Well, I
that?
mean,
And
33 degree launch angle is not in the sweet spot. Technically, you need it 32. So I don't know. The math took it and it
yeah,
died.
right down.
So
And even
there you
Pete,
go.
I mean, he went 99 off the bat, and on the
Yeah, that
even
wasn't gonna
Vientos
leave.
had,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah, Vientos had one I think yesterday. So just stuff like that, just like really frustrating. But more so in game two, Kyle Hendricks was shutting them down. I mean, we talk
Yeah.
about hitting approach, hitting philosophy. They were confused. I mean, this guy is pounding strikes and they're just watching. Then they chase. I mean, how many times have we talked about all season long of taking strikes, swinging at balls? I mean, that has been another massive issue this team has had, especially with men on base, and they did that a ton. So, like in both these games, you're just sitting there watching it, like this team is not scoring. They're getting carved up. There's no way they're going to win this. Yet somehow they win both. So, I mean, that was just kind of the big thing to me is that in the end, the most important thing is that it does come up as a sweep, but it very easily could have been, they lose the series 2 out of 3 to me. I mean, just from the way both these games were going, they were able to, piece it together. They had, they had a lot of contributions, like you mentioned, like, Acuna got a hit here, and Mauricio reached on the field of shorts here, and then Alvarez got a hit there, and Baty hit a home run, and Soto got a hit. So, like, they had a lot of guys step up in order to get the sweep, which is what you need. But overall, just the way they went about it was concerning. And for Senga, like that was his worst start of the year, no doubt. He needs to
Ever.
be better. Yeah, ever,
Ever.
because he was on that streak of like 3 earned runs or less for a bunch of starts in a row. That's over. But I think overall he's still working his way back from the injury. He shouldn't be walking that many batters. Like there was just no reason for that. But I feel like he'll be better. But I love what I saw from Manaya again. I mean, we talked about when he first came back, his pitch selection. We were like, oh, is this something that's going to hold up? And they said on the broadcast, like he flat out ditched one of his pitches, and he is sticking to like this smaller arsenal of fastball sweeper. You might throw in like another pitch or two here or there, but I like that. I like that you're seeing guys who is a veteran. I mean, he's in his 30s, who is now becoming the best version of himself. Who would like he tried so many different things and is like, you know what, this is what works. This is what I'm gonna do. Generally speaking, with pitching, we talk about more pitches, more weapons. Like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if your other pitches aren't all that great, you don't have to use them. It's like just use what is most effective for you that you can actually have success with, and that's what he's done. And you see the results. So I feel like as we talk about going into a deadline, I feel good about the rotation. I think that if healthy, they could be really solid. I mean, you have a top three. You go Senga, Manaya, Peterson, and then even Montas, he threw some gas, 97. He could get it done as a 4. You move Holmes to the bullpen. You could work with that. But it's like we said, the hitting just has to step up because I think that overall we've seen some good stuff out of this rotation.
Yeah, again, the starting rotation, it's right now. It's all really just about building them up. We know that they're capable of. Senga I'm sure, will be better again. Like he'll be better than that. He just did not have it. He could not find it whatsoever. And he was misplacing it. He had no recollection of the strike zone at all in those 3 innings, and I didn't feel like they needed to push it at all. But it was great to see, like, I don't know, an offense pick up their ace. We have not seen that for a long time with this team. They always seem to refuse to hit for their top starting pitcher. Manaea looked sharp to start it off. Towards the end there was a massive dip in velocity. And I'm not talking about a tick or two. We were talking about like 85, 86 miles an hour fastballs that he was throwing. So again, he got the good results. He pitched fine. It was great. But I'm a little bit concerned with what the health status is with him. Because again, we had this whole setback or this whole thing about the loose bodies in his elbow. I still think that this is something to monitor here. He's never been someone who dials it up to high 90s. He can top maybe 95, 96. But when you're starting to see in the fifth inning, and I know he's working it back, and everyone was saying, oh, well, he's still in spring training mode. You usually don't see a dip of like 5 miles an hour on a fastball from consistently. So I'm a little bit concerned there. I want to see if that velocity continues to sustain, because if he's going to be using these two pitches, he's going to have to dial up the fastball a little bit more. He was locating fairly fine. It's just the velocity really dipped. And I don't know what the health status is with him, if he's trying to just ramp up. They said that it's possible that maybe he needs surgery at the end of the year for the loose bodies in his elbow. I'm really trying to sit here where I'm like, okay, I'm trying not to freak out. But when I'm seeing 85 to 86 mile an hour fastballs from a guy that I know can stay in the mid 90s, I'm going to get a little bit concerned in that fact, especially when we had a report about the loose bodies in his elbow, because this is a very serious thing that you really, really have to be cautious about in terms of, with Sean Manaea, especially with him changing that arm angle and things like that. It's just the quality of how it looked, a little concerning. And the Angels suck. You can pretty much get away with a lot of it. But again, hopefully he can maintain it, and hopefully it's just him ramping up. But it was definitely a big margin of drop to just not just say, well, this is just spring training mode. I don't know if you noticed it, but we were seeing a massive drop in velocity from Sean Manaea in those last two innings. And yes, he got the good results. Yes, we can say it's fine. He pitched a good game. But when I have this blinking red thought of the loose bodies in his elbow, that's when I really start to feel the concern of this velo drop, not because of him, not throwing hard in general, but because of that blinking red thought in the back of my mind with the elbow injury that he experienced during his rehab. So I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but again, I feel like we're on a very, very rough balance right now with Sean Manaea. I'm a little bit worried of how this holds up, but maybe there's going to be a start next time where he's fine and we could all forget about it. But that's just how I feel right now with that whole elbow thing floating around our heads right now with Sean Manaea. I don't know if that's your feel. I mean, we've talked about it before, but again, I mean, that's a big jump. That's a big jump. It's a big dip in velocity to not be somewhat concerned.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you don't want any elbows floating, you know what I mean? Like you just don't want to have anything
No.
having to do with the elbow just in consideration, because you never know when it's one pitch and goodbye. Like that is how it goes. I mean, we've seen it happen far too many times. But I think the one thing that I'm like I have in the back of my mind is his first start with well, not first start, but first appearance against the Royals, where they had Clay Holmes go a few and Manaea win a
Yeah,
few. I think that might have to be the route they go in the postseason if they want to keep these
possible.
guys at their best possible route, because I think the days of, Manaea goes seven, I don't see that. I got to
Yeah.
be honest with you. I don't think it's a good idea. Like, could he do it? based off of stuff, yes, because I mean, like to your point, the velocity dipped, but he finished very strong. Like I think he
He
retired
did.
like the last X amount of batters, so that was good. But you obviously want him to be healthy. I mean, that is the main thing. So it's still an experiment. I mean, that arm angle is certainly different. It's down to 14 degrees. It's down quite a bit. Chris Sale's at 8 degrees, so it's not at that level yet. But I mean, it's still something that we got to figure out because he mentioned that like the shoulder, the elbow, like it was dead by the time the playoffs rolled around last year. So you've got to be mindful of his workload. And I wonder if when Blackburn is ready to go, do they do a six-man rotation? I feel like they might have to, especially for Senga. I mean,
Maybe.
you Holmes is on. You have concerns about his workload. Like, I mean, outside of David Peterson, you basically have like workload concerns for most of these guys. I mean, Montas,
You do.
he missed months with an injury, so I feel like you're almost forced to. But at the same token, when you're battling the Phillies day in, day out for first place, can you afford to have Blackburn in your rotation? Like that's another thing that they have to
Who
think about
knows?
too, which
Yeah.
is why yeah, which is why people are saying like, get one more, like Gabriel says, like get one more solid starter that can give you some innings. That's good. Like that is something that they really do have to think about. And if they can get it, great. But I mean, like you said, you always have to like fingers crossed with health, especially with pitching health. But it is something that, what, as we get closer to it, maybe there's some other opportunities, different things they could do. But that would kind of be one thing I'm thinking about is like combining Holmes and Manaya because it
It
is a
could
concern.
be a thing.
It,
They do.
it really
It could
is.
be. It is. I don't know the innings. Again, you look at plenty of different rotations right now. These guys are all over 100 innings pitched. We don't have like anyone besides David Peterson over that threshold right now. Like we are seeing bits and pieces every single time they go out there. And that's the main reason as to why I think the main target at the deadline in that rotation should be somebody who you can pencil in pitching into the sixth inning. I don't know if they're going to go that. It seems like on the pitching side, they just want to go for a bona fide ace. If that does end up happening, that's what we've been seeing recently. But again, in that whole realm of pitching, I mean, I'm very I'm trying not to freak out with Chaminaya, but from this new arm angle, from the injuries he had at the beginning, for the loose bodies in his elbow, I mean, there's a lot of red flags in this scenario where I'm like, okay, let's hope that this doesn't end up crashing down because I'm a little bit concerned with not just how he's throwing the baseball, how the ball is coming out of his hand because he is getting a bunch of swings and misses and it seems like there's been an adjustment, but nobody voluntarily these days says, well, yeah, I'm going to throw an 85 mile an hour fastball. No one voluntarily says that ever. If you're going to throw 90, which he was sitting for the little bit of it, it was just declining in that start. And I don't know if it's just his ramp up or whatever. But again, those loose bodies in his elbow that we saw before he came back, that's the main reason as to why I have that concern. That's the reason as to why. It has nothing to do with not being fully stretched out, or he's in spring training, because we know he's in spring training right now. So just I didn't like it. I wasn't comfortable watching it. You were getting the good results because the Angels stink, but it was concerning to see that drop in such a massive amount. It was just very spotty. Let's just say that. I feel like it's a very dangerous realm we're in right now with Sean Manaea. Like if something doesn't go right and something goes wrong, we may be screwed with him. Like I'm a little bit I'm nervous. I am.
It was weird because it was some fluctuating. I mean, his last fastball was 90, and the previous three fastballs were 89s. Like you mentioned, he threw an 86 in there, he threw an 85 in there, but
Yeah.
it just fluctuated. Like it was just
The
kind of
shape was the
strange.
same though. That's the thing. The
Yeah.
shape was the
So
same. I just don't know if it's a strengthening or conditioning thing with his arm, but that's not good to see. Like that's
yeah.
not good. It's just a big margin, especially again with those elbow concerns. But as for the rest of this series, the kids really did step up. Let's just say that. We'll get into Brett Baty in a second. Francisco Alvarez. Frank, you know what's so weird to me? When a power first prospect uses his power, isn't it such a weird concept for that to happen? I mean, I didn't even know that power existed. I thought we were supposed to keep that Ferrari in the garage or whatever dipshit Aristotle said to him. And I mean, wow. It does look better. I mean, we saw it instantly from that. And I really do like what we were seeing from Alvarez a lot better. Obviously, it is 2 games that we saw. He did not play that third game. But from what we were seeing in AAA Syracuse, he hit 11 home runs. What was it, in like 80-ish ABs there? I mean, he was just tearing the cover off the ball. So I'm hoping that this is the start of something new, and then that we don't have something else that goes into his head. But again, good to see him back. And he also looked a lot better behind the plate, too. I will say that. He looked very good. So first impressions of him back, I would say. Good series, good second impression, I guess we're saying, because he's back now, I guess.
Yeah, I think he definitely needed a confidence boost, and going to AAA, having that much success. If he just had like 1 or 2 home runs and you called him back up, it's like you don't know. But the fact that he worked on his offense, he worked on his defense, basically set out what they wanted him to do. It
Yeah.
was a successful stint, a successful assignment that he was able to return. And for me, the home run he hit, I love that it was pulled. I mean, it was pulled. It was high energy. It was in a big moment. He's like going crazy. Like, that's him. Like, that is Francisco Alvarez. In game 1, where he hit the double that, Chris Taylor probably should have caught, but still it went
Yeah.
to right field. That was one of the things that we saw during his rehab assignment, is that unfortunately, a lot of his home runs were to right center, to right field, but occasionally he did pull
Which is fine
one
because he has that natural power, but like
he
actually
does. He
lift the
pulled
baseball. Like
some,
that would be
yeah.
nice.
Yes, so he
You know?
pulled some in the minor leagues. He obviously pulled the one that he hit during this series, but he had, I think it was like a career high in blocks in the first game with Senga pitching with the ghost fork. So the fact that he was able to keep those in front of him is very important. And then the next day catching Montas, who also a very heavy usage of splitter, need to keep those in
Yeah.
front of you. So it was a good test for him to have those 2 pitchers as far as if they were concerned about his blocking. But the big thing was that Alvarez said he learned about himself, that he needs to be more patient. And that was a big thing. He drew a couple of walks in game 1,
Yeah.
and just in the home run that he had, he found himself in a more favorable count. He's been laying off some pitches that normally we see him take a whack at. And what's funny is that in that same AB, he hit the home run. I'm pretty sure it was like first pitch. He took like insane swing. I mean, just it really went for
Yeah.
it. I mean, you're down 2, your team is struggling, you have a runner on. Like, he took a ridiculous swing, but then somehow still hit a home run later that AB. So for me, he looked a lot more like himself, like we know what he's capable of. He still is so young. He needs to show consistency, do it against better competition. We'll have a great test, these next 3 series. But I think overall, he looked like he accomplished what they wanted from him.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's 2 games. We'll see how it carries over. I've always talked about, he's shown a lot, but then there would be times where he would just disappear for like 6 days and we just had nothing to see with the bat. And obviously he's a catcher. You don't really expect the biggest of, every catcher to be, Cal Raleigh, what he's doing this year. But again, it all does come from more of a consistency thing, but I also want to see him be Francisco Alvarez. And we got some comments about this a few weeks ago from the AAA hitting coach, JP Arencibia, who had some comments about it. And I'm just going to read them off here. And I'm not going to be subtle. I'm not going to try to say that this is subtle, but I'm just going to put it here. He said, "This guy's God-given ability to hit the ball as hard as anybody. If you look at Alvarez's 2023, I'd give my dang right arm for that. You grow from what that was. I think he went a different way. I think by trying to be this guy, he wasn't. It's like any of us. We are the best versions of ourselves when we are fully authentic. That's what he is getting back to. Does that sound a little bit different to you from somebody else?
Yeah, but I mean, and that's a problem though. I mean, you want to have consistency, and we talk about this a lot because we were mentioning the struggles with the young players hitting development. The message that you're getting in the minor leagues is supposed to be the same message you get in the major leagues. Like it's everyone's supposed to be in sync. You know, the AAA is with the AA, the AA is with MLB. Like it's supposed to be the same hitting philosophy of what the front office wants throughout the organization. It can't be AAA says to pull it and MLB says, go the other way with it. I mean, that really cannot be happening. So that is something that they really have got to focus on and make sure that we're all on the same page here because that is not good. Because we've talked about it before. I mean, the biggest example is PCA. We don't think we see this version of PCA if he was still a Met. I mean, we just Chavez would try to turn him into something totally different, and like how could you feel good about any of these guys? And honestly, a lot of the hitting prospects are already dropping in ranking. I mean, the newest top 10, like Gilbert's out of the top 10, Clifford went
Yeah.
down. I mean, what's going on here with our hitting like prospects? I mean, all these guys are dropping. I mean, even Jed Williams has not been overly impressive. We've already seen what's happened with Acuna. We already have all the core guys battling, not knowing what's going on. I mean, are we going to develop any hitters? Because this
Yeah.
past few years have definitely been a major red flag.
Yeah, I don't know. I just again, I'm already in the advocate to get JP up here for the majors next year as the hitting coach. I'm really already I'm pushing for it because from what I just heard right there, from identifying that the guy actually has God-given power and he should use it. Yeah, maximizing the best strengths that you have, absolutely, and not just completely ridiculing what they did. It's a complete difference. And the fact that we're getting those two different comments about him from a AAA hitting coach and a major league hitting coach, I don't know. And this is what I continue to say. It has absolutely nothing to do with the team itself. And everyone talks about the hitting coaching. It has no effect on this and no effect on that. The young guys, it is impressionable, and they are supposed to be the supposed future of this type of team and the pipeline of developing hitters. So if you're going to just come here and have a hitting coach turn them into something they're not, or try to turn them into something they're not and push it, then you're going to continue to minimize what they can do at the major league level, and they're going to continue to stink. They're going to continue to be underwhelming. So again, it's just it's not the amount of damage that they have done at the major league level. It's bad. It's not good, and I'm not happy with it. And this is more of an off-season topic, but again, Francisco Alvarez, great to have him back. Hopefully, this continues to stick. And I'm hoping that he does not have any discussions with any other hitting coaches, and I hope that he has JP on speed dial. That's what I hope, because if Alvarez could provide something from outside of the top 4 of that lineup, it definitely deepens the lineup, and it definitely makes the lineup a little bit more feared as well. Is this going to turn out to be a fantastic season overall for him? Probably not. But it is still an improvement compared to what we were seeing, which is not the Francisco Alvarez we were expecting. Not the guy who we were like, oh, well, this is a future MVP, but we knew that this guy's bat was going to contribute just as much, and it wasn't. And we weren't seeing that middle of the order type of catcher. Hopefully we start to see it. I hope we are. No one's given up on him. He's 23 years old. But it was getting bad for a long time. So I'm glad that he got his reset, and I'm glad the reset was, exactly what he needed, and he was able to hit, 11 home runs in AAA, get that confidence back, and I hope that it sticks. That's what I want to see. I want it to see it stick. So either way, I do want to do a little bit more takeaways. Frank has to step away for a second here, so I'll do a little bit more of Gavin for what we saw in this series. Either way, Frankie Montas, a lot more sharp than we saw, but we did see a little bit more of the loud contact. He was definitely getting a little bit bailed by the defense behind him, which is good. Obviously, we know that David Stearns obviously has that big impression for defense of, guys can go get it. We know there was that big throw by Juan Soto in the outfield that was very, very big for him, but he was also able to get a decent amount of swing and misses too. His splitter was definitely working as well. Like we said, with Francisco Alvarez behind the plate, blocking it the way that he did, they were able to put them away. He was able to put some batters away, but he was definitely failing to miss some bats. 8 hits, obviously. And, again, it was a mixed bag of everything. But like we've said with Frankie Montas, we don't really expect him to be an ace whatsoever. We expect him to be a number 5 in this rotation. That was what he was paid to be. And hopefully it continues to improve. We'll see how he does against some of these more contending teams like the Giants and the San Diego Padres coming up. So we will see how all of that lines out. But definitely a better start, and it seems like as we have continued through those 5 starts, it seems like Montas has started to get better and better and has looked a little bit more confident, and finishing off batters and making pitches a lot better. So that was definitely impressive. We already talked about Sean Manaea. Kodai Senga, what was that? I mean, I have no idea what that was. I've never seen Kodai Senga melt down like that. And I know I obviously am saying a meltdown, but it's not a complete shell. It's 4 earned runs. But he was definitely struggling a lot. But we know that the stuff is still there. He's still got the 5 strikeouts. I'm not going to completely panic because I don't think that this is going to be a very common occasion. But, there's definitely a point of where the Mets are going to have at the stretch, like they had last year with Manaea and Severino and Quintana, where, someone's going to have to step up in that rotation and give them a little bit more of length. I don't know if that's going to end up being Kodai Senga because of just the concerns with his injury history. But I'm hoping that we have a little bit more hoping that we get a little bit more, and then they hopefully are able to push him a little bit farther than what we are seeing. Somebody in the chat said this. Ricardo saying, I know that this is a popular opinion, but Senga is overrated. I understand people saying this. I do. I really do. Even though I'm a big fan of Senga, there are some warts with him. The health is definitely a concern. The volume is definitely a concern. Consistency is definitely not a concern. The overall production is not a concern. I think it's more of just getting quantity out of him because you can get quality out of Senga every 5 days when he's out there on the mound and when he's healthy. However, the quantity of it's scarce. It is very, very scarce. I mean, he's been healthy regulatively for the entirety of the season, except for those few weeks where he was out. But even before that, I mean, he just passed 80 innings this year. Like, he just passed it. And even in that rookie year, where you're going towards capacity with the Tommy Johnson concerns that they had with his physical before he signed, in his rookie year, 166.1 innings pitched. They didn't make the playoffs. So that's, again, that's not a lot. Like, that's from your ace, you expect to get into that 180 range there every single season. And you're not getting that type of volume from Kodai Senga. And that's the main reason as to why I think a lot of people veer off from the conversation of saying that he is an ace. I think there's ace level stuff. I think there's ace level makeup, but there are still some warts with Kodai Senga that I think are very, very, they're very valid. Takes to have. So if somebody would say that what you get from Kodai Senga is very overrated, I would not disagree with you. I would not disagree with you in the current context of how it has gone in his tenure. I do think he's a really good pitcher. I think at his very best he is. But again, there's some factors to Kodai Senga that are, they can definitely handicap you a little bit. We've talked about having a 6-man rotation with him because he needs an extra day. We've talked about his health before, of him not being, we've talked about, a usual 5 innings. We've talked about things like that, where, there's makeup here, but there still is a lot that he needs to more push towards. I think we've talked about that before. Frank, I remember you having this certain conversation, talking about, Kodai Senga, of like, what are you going to get from him? Like, what is the workload that you're going to give to him? Obviously, they have complementary pieces that can kind of help him, cover this up a little bit. But we're definitely going to have to see a decent stretch from him where he's going 6 or 7 in it. Like, we're going to need to get that from Senga eventually. I don't know when it's going to happen. And that's basically the main reason as to why I think people are a little bit cautious about this.
I mean, I understand it. I feel like the big thing is last year. I mean, he basically missed the entire year. You saw
He's
him for
nowhere to be
like
found. Yeah.
it's like an inning or two in the postseason, but he wasn't even himself, so he wasn't actually healthy. But I think it's also the nature of the injuries. Like, someone hits a pop up and your calf is done, and then Pete throws a
Yeah.
bad throw and your hamstring is out, and then all of a sudden your triceps, you're supposed to be like last year's supposed to be back in like what was it, May or June? He's not back till like August, So it's stuff like that that these past couple of years has probably soured a lot of fans on him as far as
Yeah.
trusting him, which I totally get. But like you mentioned with the workload, pitching the 6 days, that's something that the Dodgers have to do with their starters as
Yeah.
well, because that's the workload that pitchers who come from Japan are used to. So that comes with it. And you know what? I think when you see what he's capable of, it's a fine trade-off because of how good he can be. Like you said, the he has ace level stuff. He just doesn't have the ace level workload yet. And will
Yeah.
he ever get there? We'll see. But I think
Yeah.
overall, when like we've said, when it comes to pitching, you're just trying to eat innings, and then when you are in first place today, you got to get to the postseason. It's like
Yeah.
once you get to the playoffs, then you could just kind of unleash a little more. You could push Senga a little more. You don't have to have 6 starters, and then it'll be worth it. It's like just to get him there healthy this time around, you feel like that automatically is a big upgrade for the Mets this year compared to what they had last year in the playoffs. So if they
Yeah.
have to, take it slow with him just to get him through the year and then let him go wild, that's good with me. I mean, a similar example in basketball, OKC, that's what they did with Caruso. Alex Caruso, injury history, they kept his
Yeah.
minutes at a certain amount. Then once the postseason came, they let him go, and he was
Yeah.
huge for them. So if that's how you have to treat some players. I mean, not everyone is like super durable, reliable. Like some guys with their, for whatever reason, they have a lot of injuries. You got to have a different approach with them. You can't be the same with everybody. And especially with baseball and pitching, it's like glass. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to be very careful with how you are moving it.
Yeah, again, he's still giving you the peripherals of an ace, but you're just not seeing the volume from it. We've talked about it throughout the entirety of the rotation. Clay Holmes is another example of this, where we have not seen him going deep into games. We've seen him struggle to get out of the sixth. There's been plenty of these times, but there's been a decent amount of these guys have been healthy throughout the year, which is good. And if they're looking at it to kick it into gear later on, that's fine. But again, there's going to be games in the regular season that should be treated like playoff games that are coming up. And we'll see how they do execute that, and how they push these guys. But, it's all about these guys getting healthy right now. And then also, it would also be nice if the most expensive part of your team could produce at a consistent rate. That would be good. And you wouldn't need ace level pitching every single night, where these guys, if they give up 3 runs or 4 runs, you completely disappear. They were able to hide behind it in this series because the Angels bullpen is a mess, but there's going to be better bullpens that you face, specifically the Giants that are coming up, specifically the San Diego Padres that are coming up, who are, I believe, they're like right behind them in the wild card, I think. Or they're like in the wild
Yeah,
card right now.
yeah. The Padres are
Yeah,
ahead of
they're
the Giants and have a wild card
yeah, by
spot.
a game and a half. Yeah. So again, these are both playoff race teams. So this is a big stretch coming up here. Either way, we're already going overtime here, but either way, it's an off day, so I don't think we really need to completely limit the time. We don't have a game coming up yet. But let's get into some studs and duds of this series. One player that was really, really good, we wanted to give the flowers to. One that was not fairly good. Frank, I'll go to you for your stud of this series. Who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, not a surprise, but I have to give it to Alvarez more so because of when he got the hits. I mean, they were big ones.
Yeah.
Game one, making the comeback, but game two, like I said, Kyle Hendricks was shutting these guys down. Like they needed
Yes.
something, down 2-0, and Alvarez, it was one hit, but it was the one big hit. So it just felt to me that it was like he needed it, they needed it, and again, just to see the emotion out of Francisco Alvarez, even though it was only like the middle of the game, like you could just see how much that one home run meant to him. Like he's like, tugging the jersey. He's like getting so pumped up. He needed that. I mean, with the kind of season it's
Yeah.
been for him, being sent down to the minors, and just seeing the difference it can have for this lineup. Because, like I had mentioned a couple episodes ago, but Terrence had really been struggling. He had been a little better in the Cincinnati series,
Yeah.
and it looks like he's starting to kind of get back on track. But before that, he was brutal. And I have to be honest, sitting in the crowd for Alvarez's first game back, I was shocked that he got a standing ovation because to me, the people that are giving a standing ovation were the same people saying that he was overweight and dumb and needed to be cut. So
Yeah.
that's just the
And I
nature of
still I
sports
still agree with
sometimes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that can happen, but just overall that the fans are behind him, and if he could, I really hope he could keep the success because that would be a major piece. Because we talked about the young guys at third base struggling, center field, DH, all these other things. If like we know with how baseball is, if you have a hitting catcher, I mean, what a luxury. So I hope that he's not going to be his best self, but just better than what he was. Just be above average at minimum, show some power, it could make a huge impact.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the kids were in this center stage, but I'm actually going to go to probably the oldest guy on the team, right? I think. How about Brooks Raley? Good to have him back. Two really good outings from him. Quick and easy work in the first one. He struggled a little bit with his command yesterday, but it seemed like they were pushing him a little bit more. I mean, I think he threw like 25 pitches, third pitch, and that's a lot coming off of Tommy John surgery. They definitely
Also
pushed
an up
a
down.
lot. Also an up down too. So I'm not going to completely freak out about it, but again, they are going to need to search for bullpen help at this deadline. It's a need, but to have Brooks Raley back here, throwing from the left side, it's definitely an upgrade compared to Jose Castillo or whoever else we had during this entire year. Who I mean, we've had quite a few lefties who have not been fantastic. So to have Brooks Raley back, we've talked about Brooks Raley. We've hyped up Brooks Raley for a long time of talking about him being one of the best relief pitchers from the left side in the game. And he's still, like a fine wine. Tommy John surgery doesn't seem to affect him at all. I don't know. But yeah, great series away from him. And then, he was definitely big in those situations too. Cause we had some close games he was coming into. So again, he definitely was tossed into the fire, and it seems like the first two tests he passed with flying colors. To the dud category, there's two noticeable duds, I think, in this series. I don't know how you want to dupe this one out, but it's whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jose Butto. I mean, that
Hmm.
definitely was very frustrating. He really threw off the game plan yesterday. I thought with it being his first game back after being sick, they were going to do something like Mania 5 innings and then maybe Butto like one or two and then see where they were at. They went Barazban first. Then they go Butto, and he just couldn't get out. I mean, he put way too many guys on base, and that's why Brooks Raley had to pitch as much as we saw. He had to do an up down, which definitely was not part of the game plan. And then Diaz had to go more than an inning, which also not part of the game plan. And it was
Yeah.
lucky that the Mets had scored the 6 runs because Bruno was giving
They
them
were lucky they
back. I
had
mean,
a day of rest after the day after,
exactly.
too.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to do all that if they didn't have that day off. So, I mean, Budo
Yeah.
really kind of put him in a tough spot. First game back, hopefully he can get back to where he was before the illness. But it was just like, come on, man, we can't have an easy game. Like it looked like we finally had like a nice easy game because like was it the first two games were sweaty. We thought we were gonna be all right this third one, but I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. Now we got to overwork the bullpen a little more than we wanted to. It definitely was frustrating.
Yeah, he's having a roller coaster season. As Ricardo's saying, he's having a lost season. I wouldn't say that. I'd say that the start was very rough for him. Then he had a really good stretch, and then he ended up getting hurt. I don't know. I don't know what the illness was. I have absolutely no idea what it was. Hopefully, it doesn't affect him for that long. But he was pitching with an illness on the mound. He had an ill for not getting outs. That was what was happening. I don't know if it was not getting outs itis. I don't know. That's a very
We've
big
seen a lot of
condition,
guys
especially in the
have
Mets
it.
bullpen, a lot. But it's whatever. Hopefully he's better the next time out. But yeah, that was a really bad outing. And then also speaking of bad outings, Kodai Senga, a really, really bad outing. Was not Senga. That was not Kodai Senga. We know that is not Kodai Senga. That is one of the worst outings I think I've seen him have. I think I've seen him have like 3 really bad outings. He had one in Cincinnati in his rookie year. He had that one against the Dodgers in the playoffs. And then this one is probably the third one that I have seen. Because like we've seen him consistently put up 2-run ball, 1 to 2-run ball every single time. And it's crazy to think that a Kodai Senga blow up is 4 earned runs, because sometimes you take it, but with the lack of volume like we said we get from him, it really is a linchpin if he does not end up pitching well. So it's whatever. We know that he'll bounce back. He'll make his adjustments. He's a perfectionist, but definitely did not help to be in that 4-0 hole early on. But they were able to fight back, so that's good. And they were able to take advantage of a Angels team that's not fantastic, and they were able to get the sweep. So Andrew, you didn't, because it's time to talk about Brett Baty, who in this last stretch recently, especially in July, has really started to pick it up. And then obviously since him getting recalled from AAA Syracuse, we got to talk a little bit about this stretch that we've gotten from Brett Baty, because to start off the season, it was not great. It was the opposite of great. It was so bad that he was nearly unplayable. He goes down to AAA Syracuse, figures some stuff out, starts to hit a little bit better, comes back up, and ever since then, he's actually been a productive player for this team, and that's the main reason as to why he's been getting a majority of the third base time, regardless of what's been going on with Mark Vientos or Ronnie Mauricio showing out. Baty has gotten a majority of the time, and he's earned that time by actually producing from not just at the plate, but also defensively as well. Let's get a little bit of a rundown of this hot corner revival from Brett Baty, which it seems like he has revived to showing a little bit more from what we have seen from his original draft expectations. Ever since he was recalled from AAA Syracuse, he has a 675 OPS plus and a 116 weighted runs created plus in 201 plate appearances, which he was recalled on May 7th. We're seeing the percentiles in hard hit percentage go up to the 73rd percentile now, with him being a qualified hitter. That's what I was also waiting for him to be a qualified hitter to talk about this. It's just a better way of doing this. Average exit velocity, 65th percentile. We're also seeing him get really, really good quality contact, lift the ball a little bit more. And then there's also a big stat line there in that fourth line. He has a 110 weighted runs created plus with runners in scoring position, which is he is 15 for 58 this year, which is the 4th best on the team with runners in scoring position, which is a big piece of emphasis, especially on this team that has really struggled in that department. We are seeing the chasing going down a lot more. He is taking a lot more pitches. He is walking a lot more. We still see a little bit of the swing and miss game, but that's more just with the secondary stuff, and we'll get into that. And then, of course, on the third base side, a +4 defensive run save, a +3 outs above average. We are seeing the arm strength as well has improved a little bit from him compared to last year. He's been really, really good defensively. He's been making a lot better decisions as well. And then the overall numbers this season, they don't look fantastic flashy because of that awful start that he had to start off, but he's slashing 238, 294, 429. We have a 104 weighted runs created plus for this season, 33 runs batted in, 11 home runs. We're seeing a little bit of a power surge from him as well. He's also stealing some bases as well and been running the bases too. So we've been seeing Brett Baty start to come around a little bit. Are we at a point where this is, the everyday first baseman for the next 10 years? Who knows? But at least, and I think, Frank, you can agree with this too, at least we are seeing something from Brett Baty, where it's not he's a complete unrosterable player that belongs in AAA for the rest of the season while Mark Vientos completely pops off at the third base position regarding anything he does at the hot corner defensively. So it's been very impactful from Brett Baty. He's had a really, really good stretch recently. We'll talk about it in full breakdown. But Frank, we're getting something. That's what we are seeing. We are getting something from Brett Baty, which I guess is the best you can ask for right now, especially from the depth in this lineup and from the other young guys that have struggled a lot this year.
I mean, like we said, it's a battle between him and Mauricio and Vientos. So you're hoping that like one of these guys could just win the job. And right now, I mean, Beatty's in the lead. I mean, finally got the WRC plus above 100. That's like the first milestone to hit, like the first box to check, and he's done that. It's a matter of keeping it going. But for me, what I found the most fascinating just looking at Baty is the home and away splits. I mean, they are very, very drastic. So this season, he has 11 home runs. 10 of them are at Citi Field. He only has one home run away. He actually has more Citi Field home runs than Pete Alonso. Very strange. I mean, not something you would have predicted. Now, yes, he has played more games at home than on the road, but if you want to switch it to like batting average and OPS, he's hitting 289 at home and 171 on the road, 905 OPS at home, 488 away. And that is just not usually what happens at Citi Field, because Citi Field is not a hitter-friendly ballpark, but it's just something that definitely is very fascinating. I mean, just to see a difference that drastic is something that I'm very curious about. I mean, I feel like eventually and that's kind of why his average is in between that, but he's not as good as he is at home, but he's not as bad as on the road. He's like somewhere in the middle, and he just needs to find that overall consistency. My biggest concern, though, is like I mentioned earlier, he's had this great hot stretch, and because of that, now the WRC plus over 100. But once he does kind of tail off a little bit and kind of come back down to earth, is he going to go back to being under league average? I mean, that's what we don't want to see. So I'm more curious to see, like, once he does face a little bit of adversity, it's like, does he go into like another massive like drought, or can he actually find a way to still be productive and an effective player for you, hopefully on a daily basis?
Listen, I have talked about Brett Baty before, more in a negative sense. I think I've definitely criticized him a lot from what we were seeing from first round expectation. It's obviously been a long time since he was drafted. It was 2019. He was taken in the first round. It's been 6 years since then. Listen, I think, again, he's been rosterable this year. He has been, and he has shown a lot in good stretches to contribute for this team. And like we said, he's been one of their best hitters with runners in scoring position, which again is not something that you would expect when you have a top four of Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, who are supposed to come through like they are, but they haven't been. Lindor has been very inconsistent with runners in scoring position. Sometimes he has these good performances, sometimes he doesn't. Nimmo has been started off rough, has been good recently. Alonso started off great. He's kind of tampered off a little bit. And then Soto all year has not been great in those departments whatsoever. Baty, consistently, he's been good in those situations, which is good to see from a guy like Brett Baty, a guy from a younger standpoint being better situationally, because compared to all the other young guys, Mark Vientos is one of the bigger culprits this year with runners in scoring position. He's been completely lost in those situations. So again, this has been a really good stretch from him. But we have said this all the time. It will continue over and over and over again. We talked about this before the season even started with one of the best Mets insiders, Pat Ragazzo. He was on the show. We talked about Brett Baty. It all has to do with consistency. We've talked about it before over and over and over again. Is this going to be the hitter that he is? Is he going to be low floor, high ceiling? Because again, what I'm seeing from this season, he started off awful. A 67 weighted runs created plus from March to April. A 156 weighted runs created plus in May. A 63 weighted runs created plus in June. And now a 143 weighted runs created plus in July. So are we due for an August that's not great? Or is he going to continue to get hot at that right time? Now, again, we are finishing off July on the road. Like you said, the road splits completely drastic. So what will that look like as the final product at the end of July? Who knows? He is very, very rough around the edges. Still is. At least we are seeing improvement. Is this improvement that you want to hear from a 25-year-old first-round pick? No. But I think we've all pretty much accepted that he's not going to live up to that expectation. And that's the main reason as to why I think it's a little bit concerning in a way for that. I still don't like him against the breaking ball, and I will continue to say this. The numbers against the breaking ball are still very, very concerning. There hasn't been swings and misses, but the quality of contact has been horrendous against the breaking ball. He's hitting fastballs very well. And I will say that, especially with the high fastball, he's actually been one of the best on this team doing it, which has been very, very impressive because last year was a little bit of a challenge for him. Off speed, mix, seems like he's slugging off speed, but not able to make as much contact against it. Again, it's rough around the edges. The bat's been better. The bat has been consistent in July. What are we going to look at? What are we going to see in August? What are we going to see in September? It's about the consistency. It always seems like everything comes with a stretch with Brett Baty. Everything that you are seeing at face value from Brett Baty comes with a stretch. The main reason why his numbers aren't so high because of that awful start he had. The main reason as to why his numbers are higher than a league average is because of the hot May that he had, or the the really good July that he had. So it's like, what player are we actually going to be getting here? Are we getting the well below average bat that we were seeing at the start of the season and also in June? Or are we getting this Brett Baty or something? Are we getting something in the middle? I haven't seen something in the middle yet. I have seen really, really good and then really, really bad. So that is a tough situation to be in with a player like this, when you're talking about the floor of their production and the height of their production of how high, because you have absolutely no idea what they are. And to actually understand what they actually are in overall production, that's a really tough conclusion to come through when a guy is 25 years old. That's really, really rough. But I will give him credit. Again, he has had a really, really good stretch in July. He had a really good May. How does this keep up? Is this just going to be playing in bunches in weeks? Or are we going to actually see a consistent bat? But, however, what is keeping him on this roster has been his glove. The bat, inconsistent. I'm still not completely convinced, but it's looked a lot better. The glove has been great, especially compared to Mark Vientos, who's been the worst in all of the league at third base. So, again, what are we going to continue to get from him? That's what I want to see. How is this going to continue? How is he going to build off of this? Because we have still yet to see him build off of good stretches yet. And that's my only thing. It always comes down to consistency. I will make my jokes. I will go all over and make my crazy accusations and be completely irresponsible with things. But for those of you who don't know that they're jokes, there's no helping you. But at the end of the day, here, what type of player are we going to get consistently from him? And from what we are seeing from Brett Baty, what we have seen so far in his major league career, I am seeing a player that is consistently inconsistent. That's what I continue to see. What are we going to get? It's not just like, the streakiness that we were seeing with a prospect like Michael Conforto, or, the streakiness that we were seeing from, Jeff at the beginning of his tenure, where he get a lot of hits in bunches. It's more of the fact that, like, okay, we have a good month, and we have a bad month, and we have a good month, and we have a bad month. Find me something in the middle here. Give me some consistency, because again, Mark Vientos last year, I hate to compare it to him because of how far he has fallen off. Mark Vientos last year, we saw consistent 120 bats pretty much throughout the entirety that he was here. We saw consistent where he wasn't, having like these different stretches. With Baty, I don't know what I'm going to get in certain stretches. That's the thing. And the same goes for Alvarez too. Same goes for him. Acuna, I don't even really expect much from him. But again, I give him a lot of credit for being a contributor to this team winning, especially with how inconsistent this offense has been. And he's had some game-saving moments at third base, and he's looked really, really sharp. He's definitely improved. Is the improvement enough for a 25-year-old into that stage? I don't know. I have no idea, and I guess that's a question we're going to have to answer when the season is done, going into the offseason. I don't know. How does he build on it? That's my question. I don't know, Frank, if you have the answer to that, but it comes to a point I'm like, what is this player? Because I feel like we continue to get these stretches of he's this guy, he's that guy, he's the future this, and then all of a sudden he disappears, and we're like, okay, well, let's go to something new because we have three different other third basemen here. Like I'm so confused. Like, what are we going to get in total with Brett Baty?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I did leave my crystal ball in my other mansion, so I have not had a chance to look into it to see what the future holds. But to your point,
Yeah.
I mean, he still has a couple more months to decide. This next stretch is going to be a big one because he is in the middle of a hot stretch, but going on the road. And, going into, I mean, the San Francisco, not the most friendliest to left-handed hitters. So that's definitely going to be a challenge for him. Will he even start against Robbie Ray? I wonder. So there's going to be some good tests coming up for him. But what I will say is that at least one thing that is encouraging overall is that right now he has 11 home runs. And a couple years ago, he only had 9 in more plate appearances. So just overall, from the beginning of his Mets career, there has been improvement in general. It hasn't been, like we said, the amount of consistency we want for a first round pick with the expectations that he had. It needs to be more. But the good thing is that at least it's in there. I will say, because like we said in the beginning, like at least it's something. So to me, considering how bad Vientos has been this year and Ronnie's still kind of working his way back from the injury, at least somebody has been giving something, which really, I mean, that's kind of all we really need right now. If the top four are doing what they're supposed to do, McNeil and Marte do what they're supposed to do. If Alvarez has a lot of ifs, but Alvarez, he's showing something coming back from AAA. Beatty gives you something. All of a sudden you have a lineup. You know what I mean? It's like eventually you get there. So, I mean, that's really what they're hoping for.
Yeah, it's all just the fact of like, I talk about it like of these guys disappearing at these some points of like, where the entire lineup disappears. And I'm hoping that, with Brett Baty of, like I said, with these stretches he's had of these different months that are good and these different months that are really bad, where does he fall? Where does he fall there? I mean, does that mean that we're up for an August that's not great? Or are we up for, or does that on the positive side mean we're up for a September that's great? Because if he comes through in September, that's going to be big, because September baseball is going to be big at the pace we're going in this division. Like, this is going to be a battle to the end. We know it's going to be. So, that's big. But, like, I feel like the positives and the negatives, what's going to outweigh itself? Like, what is going to outweigh itself? Are we going to see this as a successful season? Are we going to see it as a better, as an improvement season of this is more of things to come? Or are we just seeing shades of it where he just is still struggling to put it all together? I don't know. That's the thing. And that's the main reason as to why it gets a little bit frustrating with, like I said, after that top four, well, the rest of the lineup is the young guys and they'll all figure it out, because he's been the best of all of them, but he still hasn't been amazing to the fact of I don't want to make the comparison because they're two different players, but he hasn't given us the Vientos, constant consistency of him being in the middle of everything. He showed shades of it. Oh, he absolutely has, especially with those numbers and runners in scoring position. He has. But I just feel like we're on a constant loop of, is Brett Baty this guy? Is he not? Is he this guy? Is he not? Is he this guy? Is he not? Like, I want a definitive answer when you're going into that. And yeah, I will put that comment. I actually have that queued up right now on my Twitter. But we'll see what happens. I'm not trying to jump out of my chair yet. But I do really give him a lot of credit for stepping up when we've seen a lot of guys in this lineup not step up. So for those of you who are watching through Twitter and, just waiting for me to say something about Brett Baty, that's all I'm going to say. That is all I'm going to say there, and we're going to move on. All right. I know everybody wants a full heartfelt apology, but I never apologize for things that I say. And if that makes me the devil, makes me the devil. I'm wearing red anyway, so it fits it. Anyways, before we get into the main topic, because this is like the big, conversation now, as we're closing into a week from the trade deadline. Frank, I'm going to quickly move over to you for the injury report, which only has 2 guys on it, which is very, very rare in Mets land. Like, we always have about 800 injuries to discuss, but we've got 2. That's it. It's a very short list, and not much info to be had, but stage is yours.
All right, so we were starting it off with the reliever, Brandon Waddell, the lefty. Mets' long reliever has been placed on the 15-day injury list due to a right hip impingement, which will reverse his optional assignment to AAA Syracuse. Waddell is expected to miss multiple weeks due to the injury. Mets weekly injury report, Hall of Famer Paul Blackburn, the right-hander. He threw a rehab outing for AAA Syracuse on Tuesday afternoon, tossing 5+ innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 72 pitches. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza expects Blackburn to need 1 more rehab assignment before rejoining the major league team. The 31-year-old currently on the injury list due to a right shoulder impingement, which has just been a small piece to his continuously injured tenure with the Mets. So a lot of impingements going on right now with the pitching for Waddell. It kind of stinks because, like I said, I think he's been a little underrated. A lot of good long relief outings for this team in just random circumstances. But for Blackburn, it's more so I do wonder what his role would be. Does he become a 6th man? Is he the new long reliever? That's something that I'm kind of curious to see, because they still have this constant revolving door. Guys get DFA'd and literally signed right back to the team. So there's just been that constant carousel with the bullpen with like Deviansky and Garcia and Loveladies. So, I mean, they have not been able to just figure out like, this is our bullpen. These are the guys we're sticking with. Like, there's a few. But then there's just still like, I mean, you have Carrillo who's still here. Like, what? It's just, that's how it's been with this bullpen this season.
Yeah. And I think they're keeping those few spots open for those deadline additions. I do think that they are going to pursue bullpen help. Obviously, there's been plenty of rumors that have been floating around, but I do want to get into this deadline of what Stearns was actually saying regarding this deadline of, breaking down his presser. Then we'll get into some of the reports that we have seen. We'll get into the deadline discussion. There's so many angles we can go at this. So I'm just going to, throw some darts and see where we go. But here are some of the cliff notes from what we heard from the boss man the other day. Now, what we heard from David Stearns directly, he said that they will be active in the trade market for bullpen help at the deadline, which was very, very obvious that it was going to happen. We've talked about, their need to replace AJ Minter since AJ Minter went down. So it's very, very possible. But he also added in here saying that pitching prospects like Blade Tidwell, Brandon Sproat, and Nolan McLean could be long relief options if moves aren't as significant in the relief pitching department at the deadline. Obviously, they've said that they want to be very, very cautious with it, but ramping them up, that is something that we have seen in the tenure of David Stearns before, with guys like, Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. We've seen him do that before in his career. As for the position player side, he is genuinely pleased with what he has seen from the team's position group and acknowledges the quality of ABs from the bottom of the lineup recently, but does not have the answer as to why the team struggles with runners in the scoring position this season. We've talked about the struggles constantly of what he does not know here, but again, he has talked about it as well from the position player standpoint of third base, the trio of Brett Baty and Ronnie Mauricio, as well as Mark Vientos, will continue to get reps at third base for the rest of the season. He seems to have no desire to pursue the third base trade market. And then we also saw from the bat standpoint as well, saying that they will be engaged on the center field market, but it depends on a heavily on the asking price. And he also mentioned that recently the need for a center fielder he has felt has gone a little bit more down than it was a few weeks ago. He also talked a little bit about Francisco Alvarez. We got into Francisco Alvarez already, talking about his improvements behind the plate during his time in AAA Syracuse, as well as his work ethic to improve as an all-around player. He said that, usually these young players get these 72 hours to report to AAA Syracuse, but Alvarez ended up showing up in those 24 hours. So obviously the work ethic of Francisco Alvarez, we've always talked about it, of him at a certain level being so young, but has shown so much. But either way, a lot more of this has to do with the trade deadline. We have had some other reports that have come out that we will get into, but from some main takeaways, obviously, Frank, I don't know. I have already said that we have a similar deadline like we did last year. I am going to be disappointed. I'm kind of preparing myself to be disappointed. I really feel like there's going to be a little bit of a disappointment, and I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more underwhelming than it should be. Like I have said multiple times, with Juan Soto on this roster, I feel like there should be a more all-in approach. I don't know if it's going to be. I have no clue, and it's a little scary considering what we have seen from the departments on this team that have struggled a lot throughout these 100 games.
I mean, it definitely is concerning, but I mean, it's a year to year thing. I mean, you have some years where you have a more active trade market where there's more, really good options available from the power department specifically. But then you have other years where maybe in this case, center field, for example, like, oh, well, there's a few center fields available. Whereas this year, it's like, is there really? Like, people talk about Robert, but that's not even a slam dunk. Like that's not even this automatic, like, oh my gosh, we add Robert to this lineup and we take off. Like boom, there's our center fielder. Like he's been terrible for 2 years. I mean, that's a project. That is like not a guarantee. So I can't pardon with big prospect capital for a maybe. You gotta there's just not that automatic two-way center fielder out there. There's very few of them available. And if they are out there, a really good team already has them. And that's just kind of the way it goes with a position like that. So needing a center fielder is one of the things you don't want because there's just, like I said, very few available to get. And even if they were, they would cost a lot. So they're in
Yeah.
the situation a lot of contenders are. Everyone wants starters. Everyone wants relievers. Could use upgrade center field, sure. Everyone wants Eugenio Suarez. He's the hot name out there right now. So you're in a tough spot where you're kind of with everyone else. There's a bidding war. And in order to win that, you have to move better prospects. And Stearns has not done that so far in his Mets tenure. Will he do that now? We will see. But I think more so what I want him to do is, like you mentioned, you need to get another couple relievers out here. We can't do the constant Carrillo, Garcia, all these other guys. Like a couple more solid guys to use in hopefully the back half of the bullpen, ideally. But if not, in a setup role, middle relief, just some guys you could trust. Another depth starter that could eat innings, a veteran, fine, do that. And then what I more so want to see is just a proven home run bat. I don't care what position they play, just get them on the roster. If it's a pinch hitter, it's a DH, whatever, you just need to get them here because Vientos has power, has not shown it this season consistently.
No.
Alvarez has power, has not shown it consistently this season. Beatty, like the Mets technically have plenty of power, technically, but they don't
Not
actually
prolific
show it.
enough.
Yeah, they
Not
don't
enough.
not prolific, not consistent enough. More importantly, so they need someone who's like, you know what, this guy when he's here, he's going to crush some baseballs. Whether it's your guy Jorge Soler, I mean, one of the guys that like I'm intrigued by, we just saw him, Joe Adell. I mean, that's a guy who plays center field, has
Yeah.
over 20 home
Okay.
runs this season. Like, I would go for something like that, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything
I don't think they would
crazy.
move him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
I wouldn't do anything crazy if there's not anything crazy available. You know what I mean? It's very
Yeah.
like dependent on who is out there. And again, it's like even if we talk about Zach Gallen, like he's not having this phenomenal season. So Sandy Alcantara, like he's not having an amazing season. So I mean, it's just very hard to sell me on going all in on players that are not playing well. I mean, that's just something
Yeah.
that it kind of scares me a little bit. It's like I want to go
Yeah.
for players who are having great seasons, ideally, but so does everybody
Yeah.
else.
I've warmed up a little bit to Luis Robert. I've warmed up a little bit, but not to any extent where I'm like I'll do anything for him. The price has to be like it has to be correct. I think it's an upgrade over Tyrone Taylor. I think it's an upgrade over having what is it, McNeil defensively in center field. However, there's other guys out there. We know that Jaron Duran's been talked about, even though the that Boston
The
is
Red
being
Sox are
in.
hot, yeah.
The Red Sox are red hot, and it looks like they're going to start to compete, especially with how the Yankees have faltered in that American League East. We've also seen, Cedric Mullins be mentioned, who's really struggled recently after that tough start to the season. So I get not wanting to go in for these bats because of how much they've struggled. And there has been one guy who's consistently been great who could be available, and that being a Eugenio Suarez, who has been talked about before. We know that the Mets, again, at the third base position, we just got a report from Andy Martino while we're streaming as we talk, saying that the Diamondbacks have been scouting the Mets Double-A affiliate for a potential deal for Eugenio Suarez. He said that does not necessarily mean that talks between the teams are hot. Arizona also has some pitching to sell. So that came from Andy Martino. He's been relatively accurate with a lot of the the transactions, a lot or potential transactions. He also mentioned Harrison Bader. So I don't know what the wide net
That'll
is.
fix the
Obviously, I'm not. Listen, I think from what I am hearing, in general, I think you're going to see two relievers. That's what I think they're going to get. They're going to get two relievers, whether they're major, good or not. If they go in the pitching department, it looks like they want a frontline piece. That's what it looks like, which I don't think they need, but I do think that they do need to, deepen the rotation, whether they have to do it or not from any standpoint. Whether that is Dylan Cease, who has been mentioned these last few days with the Mets, who have been interested in trading for him. That seems to be the only one that I've seen. Do they classify Zach Gallen as a frontline guy right now after the struggles he's had this year? Who knows? But in the direction of the Diamondbacks, if they're talking about a potential deal for Eugenio Suarez and scouting the Double-A affiliate, well, who's there in Double-A? There's a guy who they've mentioned that they want to hold on to in Jet Williams. There's also another guy named Ryan Clifford. Could he be in that discussion? I don't know. And I was just mentioned, someone just actually messaged this to me while we were live, saying, I'm wondering why Clifford has not been called up to AAA yet. Could this be the reason why? I don't know. Now, Clifford obviously has less trade value than a lot of these prospects because he's a little bit more one-dimensional compared to some of the other ones that can provide a lot of tools. Tools provide value. It'll always be like that. I like Clifford a lot. Clifford is definitely someone I like, but again, he is definitely movable. Would I take the sacrifice with that if it was for a rental? I don't know. But if my hands are tied of like the last thing that you need to give up is Brian Clifford, my hands are tied, I'd probably do it. Because again, it is a prospect. I like Clifford. I really do. I really do like Clifford. But again, hoarding the prospects, how many of them are going to pan out? And to be honest, like I have said over and over again, we've talked about it with PCA. Who knows what they're going to do at the major leagues? Because the development at the higher levels, inconsistent, not great. Just not great. Isn't. It just isn't. Now, if it includes an extension, I don't know. I don't think that's going to end up happening. I don't see Suarez as a possibility because I think that they do trust Brett Baty at second base, at first base, around the diamond, third base. I do think they trust him at third base, and I do think that they want to give playing time to Ronnie Mauricio as well. We've also seen reports as well coming from Will Salmon that the Mets are willing to deal, guys like Baty, Acuna, Alvarez, not Alvarez. Alvarez is not in that conversation. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you there, Frank. Acuna and Vientos. Like that four, like I said, that I mentioned, they're willing to trade from their infield surplus. So we're getting mixed reports from this. We are getting a lot of mixed reports. Who's correct? I don't know. We had something from The Athletic of other notes that we can add in here. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where there's something from The Athletic. I don't know if it was Will Salmon or somebody else, but I'm going to have to find it on my phone here. But because I know that I'm not going to be able to have access to it. And no, I am not going to mention as to why. But anyway, yeah. So again, you can put together as many packages or whatever, but I do think that they're going to be a little bit careful in the bat market, and it all really has to do with the price that they do end up giving up. We have yet to see Stearns trade away young guys, but I want to see them at least consider trading one of the young guys, somebody in that top 10. I really hope that they consider doing it. They have to. They just have to. Like it just can't be like it was last year. It just can't.
And top tens change. I mean, your top 10 this year is not your top 10 last year. I mean, you have guys who have down years, guys who have up years, and rankings change. So for Clifford, it's hard to just be like, oh, let me really hang on to a first baseman. It's like, I mean, come on. It's not a premium position. It's not a catcher. It's not a center fielder. I mean, if you just do the right thing and give Pete a long-term deal, the need for Clifford is not as high. So, on the flip side, though, like people mentioning, Suarez is a rental. So it has to be the right deal,
He is.
like we've also talked about. And Suarez is having a phenomenal year. I mean, he's perfect for this team. He's got 36 home runs, OPS over 900. Like, he would be so perfect for this team. But he's like the main bat out there right now. So you know that there are teams who are more desperate than you, that are much more willing to part with big time prospects than you, that are more likely to acquire him. So that's something that is also to be considered. And like you mentioned, they might have to go with something more sneaky, like a Cedric Mullins, something more of a high upside play for low value. I mean, they're probably going to have to go more of that route based off of the way that they operate. I wonder if they go for either one of the Twins guys, whether that's Yohan Duran or Griffin Jacks. Danny Colombe is someone they've also looked at a little bit too from the left
Yeah.
side. So you can go for one of the Twins relievers. I'd be totally good with that. But overall, like we said, the hitting with runners on base and stuff like that solution, it's tough to find it. It really is just hard to just fix that, like you said, in the deadline.
Yeah, so this was the part from The Athletic that we got. Let me just pull this up the best way that I can. And this is from so this is from The Athletic, saying that the Mets have preferences for two relievers, not just one bigger shutdown setup man. So we'll see. And they prefer one lefty reliever. They are comfortable with Baty at third, like I just said of that. And then the cost on Robert is speculated to be multiple back-end top 20 prospects, which, if that is the cost, by all means, go for it. Why not? And another thing is guys like AJ Ewing and Jacob Reimer are ones to look after. Now, AJ Ewing is in high A, so I don't know if that is Brooklyn is where if Brooklyn is where Chicago's looking, and if the Double A is where Arizona is looking, like Andy Martino just said. AJ Ewing was the compensation pick for Jacob deGrom, for those of you who don't know. So if we end up getting a guy for that, it'll be we turn Jacob deGrom into something. Jacob Reimer has had a really good season in Brooklyn, then got promoted to Double A, and he's been really good in Double A. However, he's had a lot of injuries. He is 21 years old. He is also one detail. He is also Rule 5 eligible after this season. So maybe that is something that they do possibly consider with Jacob Reimer. Maybe that's somebody that they look at. I don't know. But if you're looking at, let's say, okay, let's go to the Mets prospects list. This is typical. But again, this is rough estimate here. Let's say it's the bottom part of the top 20, like it was just said. Are you willing to part with Nick Morabito and Nate Dahm? I think I would be willing for Luis Robert.
No.
Is that something you would? No.
Okay.
Okay.
I would go more the back end top 20 route for him. I wouldn't
so
go
back end top 20.
10.
So
Yeah.
So Anthony Nunez,
Jaron Duran.
it
would have to be Jaron Duran was something I'd go more like back end top 10, because I've seen at least Duran was an all-star last year. Like,
back end top 20
recently.
is the cost. Back end top 20
for Robert. I'm also about Jaron Duran.
Robert. Yes, Duran is probably back end top 10.
Yeah,
that's probably what you're
I'd be
looking at.
more looking at that.
I don't know, because again, these guys are prospects. There's obviously that more untouchable realm of that they're looking at is obviously Jet Williams, Tong, McLean, Benj. I think they want to keep, and then they get to this other tier of like, okay, these guys could be in more feature pieces. Like, I feel like the top 10 is where you get into the Suarez direction. The thing that shows is that there's a give and take, I feel like, right here. It's the fact that you have, yes, guys who have been struggling that are, not many hitters on the market, but then there's also the thought of the scarcity on the market of them having a little bit higher of an ask. So I feel like there's going to have to be some kind of a give and take here. And if they have to do two in the bottom part of the top 20, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, you know what? I'm going to hold on to these guys. I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. Because again, we saw them give up, at the time, number 19 overall prospect, Cade Morris, for Paul Blackburn, who we know Paul Blackburn is a back-end guy. So, or barely at this current point. Does he even exist at this point? I mean, I feel like the price is going to be higher than you'd expected for a guy like Robert. Robert recently has played well, I will say, getting the trade value up. Is it enough to say, well, this is going to be the budding star that you bring into center field? I don't know, but I would not hesitate in the bottom half of top 20 to get somebody like Robert, because there's a few factors here that I will put in here. One, Luis Robert, obviously the years of control, we've talked about it before. The years of control that he has, cost controllable outfielder that can be, reversible in and out with the two corners locked down in Juan Soto and Brandon Nimmo. Luis Robert, throughout his entire career, no matter what, if he has had bad seasons, has been great against left-handed pitching, which this Mets team really needs from a right-handed bat perspective. However, there is one piece where you're like, okay, yeah, he'll fit right in. Actually, no. Wrong one. Different bat that I'm talking about, actually. This year, with runners in scoring position, a 112 weighted runs created plus. So that's better than some of the guys on this team. In inches, I'd say that it would be a good fit. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, we want this guy in your top 10 for him. No. The price has to be right. And if that price comes with guys in the top 20, the lower part of the top 20, I'm okay with that. That is a piece I am willing to lose, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I look at it. The price has to be right again. If they want, these certain guys who are not, because I'm not going to sit here. Well, Robert's available. Let's go ahead and get rid of Ryan Clifford. No, I'm not doing that. There has to be a price, but I'd be willing to move to Luis Robert for that type of price, which may seem like a lot, but I feel like you're hedging to the amount of guys who are available in the outfield market, valuable on the bat market, and also the seasons that they are having. So I feel like there's a median here where it closes from the top 30 to the top 20. Like, I feel like the scarcity is the main reason as to why it would be worth it for the outside of the top 20. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I feel like it's just the act of supply and demand is why I would be willing to do that if you're willing to upgrade the lineup. I know that Robert is not seen as an upgrade right now because he has not had a good season. We know the upside's there. We know it is. And we know that that's something that, the Mets have been attached to for a while. So could that be something? Who knows? I don't think it's the bat that sets you over the top, but I do think that it definitely can lock down center field a lot better compared to what you're doing right now with Tyrone Taylor and Jeff McNeil, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's anything that you want to add on there. I'm warming up to it, but there is a cutoff. There is a massive cutoff with this because, again, we've also had reports of the work ethic issues with him. And if that happens in New York, that's not going to have a good response. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what they go on this. I still don't think they're going to pursue bats as much, but it's whatever. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a team of guys who don't like to slide and just do a lot of dumb stuff because it just seems like they're fully not in it as far as like work ethic, as far as if you're fully focused, make these constant mental mistakes we see them make all the time. Like Vientos running to third on the ball, hits a shortstop right next to him. Like we see a lot of dumb stuff from this team. And if someone has a work ethic concerns, they are more liable to dumb stuff. So I can't say that that's something I would generally want. But
Yeah.
to your point,
It's
it's
not perfect
better.
by any means.
It's
It
like
really
he's
isn't.
better defensively than McNeil, but has more offensive upside than Taylor. So, if it allows everything to just kind of flow better, where you keep Robert in center, you keep McNeil at second, and keep Beatty at third, and things just kind of, again, just fit better. Okay. And like you said, no matter what, you're going to need a defensive first guy next to Soto 100%, and then next to Nimmo, definitely as Nimmo continues to get older. So you're going to need that part of it too. But I 100% agree with you. It's all about the asking price. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
give a much to a guy who's barely hitting over 200. It's as like
Yeah.
the bat to
No,
help my life.
you're right. You are right. You are 100% right. And again, it's all more of an upside thing. The tools are there. I will say the tools are there. They are definitely there. But there's tweaks that need to be made with him, and it's not just going to be like, well, this is going to be our future piece. But I'm more welcoming to it than I was maybe a month ago. More welcome to it. Let's just say that. As Tyrone Taylor's continued to struggle the way that he has, and I don't know what the deal is with Drew Gilbert. Are they going to move him? Are they going to keep him? Like what is the deal with him? Because he's done
He's
very
out of the
well in
top
AAA
10.
recently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's out of the
top
top 10, but
now.
he's done very well. I mean, that's more probably to do with his injuries recently, but again,
Yeah.
that's
But
that's
I
how I
think
look at it. Yeah.
I think too, it's going to be a very weird deadline because as much as we've talked about all the bad things about the Mets, they're technically on paper 2 games away from having the best record in baseball. And there is
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
6 teams. I mean, there are about 6 teams who are a game or two away from having the best record in baseball. You have a bunch of teams who are like 60 and 50 and 43 and what have you, and the best team is 61 and the Mets are 59. So like that's where things just get really weird. This whole deadline is like you technically have, it feels like anybody's game. Like anyone can make a run with these wild expanded playoffs. Like anyone could do it. So it just feels like it's going to be another situation where there's a lot more buyers than sellers, which goes back to your supply and demand point. That it's going to be a
Yeah.
weird deadline. I think it's going to be very interesting, and it's one of those things where like who blinks first, who sets the market first, especially with pitching. It's like what one team gives up for a rental is going to decide what every team gives up for a rental. And last year was ridiculous. I mean, you saw really good young players move for
Yeah.
rentals that, especially rent starting pitchers that are not that good to begin with. The guys are like mid to back end arms. So
Yeah.
this year, it just depends. The first domino needs to fall, and then we'll all have a better idea of what these guys could potentially cost.
Yeah, I think they're gonna dip their toe into it. Let's just say that. I don't know if they're gonna end up, I don't know if they're gonna end up in the whole pool. That's the thing. Like I feel like they'll dip their toe into it, but I don't think I think there still is a little bit of hesitance, which it's probably just the fact that the market is just not as great. It's not. It's not as big. There's no Juan Soto on the trade market. There's no, there's no like these big guys out there. You have pieces that can complementarily help your team if you have a need for maybe power or contact. Guys, speaking of contact, we've seen the Mets linked to Stephen Kwan. I mean, listen, I see why Stearns would be attached to this because the high contact rate and things like that, the situational hitting, which he's really, really good at. But we've seen a new and improved Jeff McNeil. Why are you adding the old one back? Like, why would that be a thing? I don't know where the hell he would even play. Would you put Nimmo back into center field?
I would
Like,
hope not. But then again, I mean, if you're playing Jeff in center, you might as well play Nemo in center
yeah, you might as well. Yeah, I
because
don't know.
it's actually an upgrade.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they both have similar arms in center field.
But
I
Jeff
don't know.
can't really move out there. I mean, Jeff is just
Yeah,
it's frustrating to
Nimmo.
watch.
Nimmo at left field has had some rough routes, but I don't know if it's him just because remember he was originally a right fielder, then he moved to
Yes.
center field. He never
Yep.
really was playing that much left field, so I don't know if that's just like a different angle for him. But he's settled in well
He's
there.
been there a few
He's
years
not
now,
amazing.
though.
He's not amazing at it, but we all know his big asset is his bat. We know what it is.
And
Anyways,
robbing home runs. He's good.
and robbing home runs. And playing back and letting two pop-ups land in front of him and making everyone mad. Anyways, I think McNeil's been better than I thought he would be in center field, but it still is an deal. I've talked about this before. It has nothing to do with my long time, Showtime feud with Jeff McNeil. It's the fact that his health doesn't belong in center field and his arm doesn't belong in center field. And that's the main reason, because the original thought was Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor. Jose Siri probably ain't coming back this year. So again, it's a tough situation there, but I don't like the thought of Jeff McNeil in center field. I don't like the thought of him batting fifth for a team. Like, there's a lot of things that they're putting in Jeff McNeil in a position because of the rest of the team. And the same thing goes for Tyrone Taylor too. So I don't know. And this is another point where I think Tyrone Taylor is going to get a little bit more of the playing time in center field. That's going to be a problem for McNeil, which, again, like I said, I think Tyrone Taylor is probably going to be playing a lot more in general in center field, because it just makes more sense for him to cover a little bit more ground. But again, it's another one of those things. There's been plenty of reports that have come out. We're getting closer and closer to the deadline. I don't even think we've covered all of it, but we will get to it eventually. We'll see how all of this unfolds. We are seeing tons of different reports that are coming in. John Heyman just said that there are 6 teams in on Dylan Cease on his podcast just now. I don't know if let me see if I can hear it. 4 AL East teams. Okay, so all the 4 AL teams that are in contention right now, and then you have the Cubs and the Mets, which are the 6 teams that are in on Dylan Cease. Now, if the Red Sox are going full in on Dylan Cease, the Mets have no chance. I'm sorry, they still have a really, really good farm system, and they're going to have those pieces to do it. They're going to reunite. That would reunite Crochet and Cease, right? From Chicago, from white colored socks to red colored socks. That's wow. That just warms your heart, doesn't it? It warms your heart. I mean, you can't get upset about that, right?
Well, they did Chris Sale too before, so
they did do Chris Sale. So there's been plenty, and that really worked out for the White Sox. So, anyways, speaking of other teams, let's get into the team that we are playing starting tomorrow in San Francisco. Start of a West Coast swing, which is always fun. We don't have Drew Smith to ruin it for us. But anyways, let's go into this upcoming series now with the Giants, which is definitely going to be having some eyes on it in terms of the playoff race with both of these teams in contention. Now, as for Game 1, Clay Holmes will start the first game of this series. He will go up against the filthy iron arm of Logan Webb. First pitch is tomorrow at 10:15 p.m. Eastern time, so it's going to be a late one. So if you're very committed to this team, you got to stay up late for it, and that one will be on Picks 11. Game 2, David Peterson will get the second game of this series, and he will face this year's comeback kid in Robbie Ray, who has had quite the resurgence this year and has had a really good frontline candidacy this year in that rotation and been a part of the Giants' success this year. First pitch will be Saturday night at 9:05 p.m. Eastern time on SNY. And then Game 3, Kodai Senga will get the series finale, looking to shake off a very un-Kodai Senga-like outing. And the Giants starter has yet to be announced for all I know as of right now. But the first pitch will be at 7:10 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball, which is everybody's favorite time of the year when their team is on Sunday Night Baseball and they get to listen to Eduardo Perez yap for over possibly 3 hours. It's always fun to hear that. Anyways, so we see Daniel here in the chat saying, oh no, not Webb. Yeah, we know how good Logan Webb is, and he's been really, really good against the Mets in his career as well. Logan Webb is a disgusting arm, and he gives you a lot of volume. So you let him get on a roll, you're kind of screwed. Let's just say that. So you're going to have to see if Clay Holmes is up to the task on that. The pitching has been huge for the Giants all year. Main reason as to why they're still into contention. Their offense has been, I don't want to say as inconsistent as ours, because it might be a little bit more inconsistent compared to ours, to be honest. Their offense has been pretty starved, let's just say, and a lot of that has to do with a guy named Willy Adames, who they brought in free agency, who I know is having a rough season. But either way, Frank, if there's anything you want to add in on this Giants team, which, in contention, they're good. They're no slouch, but it's been a struggle offensively for them. On the pitching side, they've been really good. So we'll see what this matchup has in store.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be a bit of a pitcher's duel, no doubt, the whole series, because the Giants, like you mentioned, have not been great offensively. And, you talk about Adames struggling. They said, oh, we know we'll get the biggest bat that's out there now. We'll get Rafael Devers. And he's been awful for them. He had a good game last night, them being the Atlanta Braves, but overall, nowhere near what he was with the Red Sox. I mean, this is a team that Matt Chapman has an OPS at exactly 800. Everyone else is below that. So, I mean, that's just how it's been for them offensively. They just don't have anyone that's really been going off for them. But like you mentioned, the pitching has really held up. So it's going to be very exciting to watch. I want to see how Clay Holmes matches up with Logan Webb. This is a good test for Holmes, being in the rotation. Like I said, he might end up being in the bullpen by the time it's all said and done. But then the two lefties, Pearson and Ray, going at it, that's going to be a nice matchup as well. You got some all-stars. And then the last game, Senga hopefully taking advantage of the TBD the Giants are throwing out there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Again, they have, a matchup of guys who have been really, really good this year, but we've also had some pitching that has been very, very solid. So hopefully they can step up. And this is a stretch that is definitely important against teams that are contending. Patrick Bailey, horrendous with the bat. They know that he's great defensively, but he has had a really rough season. Lamont Wade Jr. is pretty much their first baseman. They had some Dominic Smith as well.
He just played for the Angels against the Mets this week. He's not.
Oh, he did. So I don't know why he's right. Right, he
played
is Dominic Smith
earlier in the year. Yeah.
Okay, I think Dominic Smith, is he still there? I don't even know.
He's been
who even is their first baseman
this year? I know Flores.
Is Flores? Is Flores?
It might be Flores.
It might be Flores. I don't know.
No, Dom
Devers
Smith,
might be
Dom
getting
Smith
hot
started
too.
there last night. It's Dom.
Okay, so yeah, we get to see our old friend. Cool. Jung Ho Lee, I think, is hurt, right? Is he hurt? Yes. Hurt. Mike Yastrzemski is always hurt, so who knows?
He's healthy but not playing well.
Yeah, he's healthy but not playing well. Adames is obviously underperformed. We know that bullpen has been. I mean, they've been phenomenal. That's been one of the best bullpens in all of baseball.
Joey Lucchesi has 1.93 ERA for the Giants.
Yeah, our old friend Joey Lucchesi has been very, very good for them in a little bit of a limited sample. Camilo Doval has found his footing once again, and he's been one of the best. Tyler Rogers has had an amazing season, and he's been worked like crazy. That's been like their Brazaban. Ryan Walker has had a rough season, but he's been like the only bad part to that bullpen. Eric Miller has broken out this year. Who's as well. Randy Rodriguez was an all-star for them. He's been phenomenal. I mean, they have a really good bullpen. So you're going to have to attack early. That's going to be rough against guys like Logan Webb and Robbie Ray. Again, this might be a game. It might be a series of inches. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. Juan Diaz saying the lineup is suspect. It definitely is. But again, we'll see what happens. We will be missing our old friend Justin Verlander, who was a Met for so long. And then we'll also be missing who else is in that rotation? Isn't it don't they have like that Harrison kid. They also have Birdsong as well. Like they've had plenty of other guys
Yes,
make
yeah, you
starts
got
for
some young
them this
pieces in
year.
there too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Hayden
well,
Birdsong, he
again,
hasn't been great, so
yeah, but
we'll see.
definitely the strength of this team is 100% that bullpen. That bullpen has got some ridiculous arms in it. So we'll see what they're going to be able to do. They have their work cut out for them. Let's just say that. And again, that's the two workhorses of their rotation that you're facing, in Webb and Ray. So if they get into a groove, they're going to go deep into the game. So there's no knocking them out of the game. So our top guys are going to have to be up to the task. So we're looking for that top four to really explode or do something and do what they are capable of, because we'll see. As for the rest of the young guys, we don't know what's going to happen with Alvarez. Vientos has been better recently, but still not himself. And then Baty, like we have talked about, on the road has really, really struggled in a huge margin compared to him at home, which I've never seen a City Field merchant before, but I guess there's a first for everything. I don't know. I again, we'll see how this goes. It's on the West Coast, so anything can happen. All bets are off. But Frank, like we said, there's no Drew Smith to ruin it for us. So there's no pillar. There is no pillar in front of us to do so. But yeah, other than that, this is a Giants team that isn't the best, but they are no slouch. They are not a complete slouch like the Rockies in that division, or the Diamondbacks, who have been falling apart in their own right because of injury. So we'll see how this goes. Again, series starts off very, very late. I'm pretty sure Frank will probably be in bed, and I will be assessed to
Long gone.
fill in for the post game, which I am happy to do. Of course, we toss these back and forth these days. But again, it's these are teams that they have to beat. So hopefully they're able to figure it out. We know that the upcoming deadline, maybe these 60 games determine something. Who knows? And obviously, day to day, they are fighting in this division with the Phillies, which is a two-man race at this current moment. Unless the Marlins go on a ridiculous hot streak with their negative 54 run differential that they have, which is very unsustainable. Who knows? Maybe the Marlins will be willing to ruin us in September again. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't. But again, we are in this final stretch of the season, getting close to that deadline. And hopefully they can figure something out. Frank, before I go to you for your final comments to end this one off as a little bit more of an extended episode, because we have a day off now, on this day, since you like to go the history, this was Jeff McNeil's debut on this day, and he got a hit in his first AB. So props to Mickey Callaway for putting him in the game. It's all about Mickey Callaway. And it also was the day that the franchise died, because of Jeff McNeil making his debut, and we are enemies.
Right.
Anyways, Frank, to you.
Yes, the legend was born. But I mean, overall, we're still looking for line consistency, and really, it's some guys, whether it's Tyrone Taylor or Viento, some of these guys. I mean, with the deadline coming up, if you're going to show something, you really need to do it now, because they got to make a decision. So it's like either you step up or get left behind, kind of thing. So I'm really just kind of curious to see if we see a little more sense of urgency from some of these guys that we've been waiting. Like you said, it's over 100 games, been a few months. Like, I wonder if someone might actually have a breakthrough here, because they kind of need it.
Yeah. In these games, split them. These upcoming games, split them. That's all I'm asking, because I know these are good teams and they will give you a fight. Split them. That's all I'm asking. There's 6 games on the road in the West Coast. Don't make us mad on the West Coast and have us at 1 a.m. Watching, the teams walking us off. That would be nice. That would be awesome. I'm just asking for a split. So if they end up losing if they end up losing this series, they're gonna have to take 2 out of 3 from somewhere. They gotta figure it out. They definitely do. Better baseball has to be played as well. You can't just be going toe to toe with the Angels. So maybe they'll play a little bit better, because we've seen them play down to competition. Maybe they play up to it this time. I don't know. The Mets are just funny like that. Either way, let's end it off here. We're going to hop off. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and TikTok, which mainly includes Frank's post-game reactions after every single regular season game. Follow all of us individually, including Andrew, who will be appearing a little bit more in the coming future. So for those of you who are Andrew fans, he's making a little bit of a comeback. So get ready. Either way, off day today. Game is late in San Francisco, so they definitely have some rest in between this. So either way, let's go Mets, and we will see you guys next time.